bio, and then we'll jump into some conversation. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. Meg Moonbeam is an internationally renowned Western astrologer, mystic, and musician from Toronto, Canada, now based out of the magical wilds of Alberta. Born into a lineage of psychics, astrologers, she has been steeped in Western astrology and the mystic arts from an early age, and has so far shared over 4,000 personal readings with people all over the world. Since 2013, Meg has been working professionally in the metaphysical field. She currently started uncensored premium and astrology club memberships, as well as personal readings, which I've had, which is fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about that. Workshops and courses, which I'm doing, her courses, which are phenomenal as well, on her website, megmoonbeam.com. Meg also shares regular free content on astrology, mysticism, music, freedom, and more on her Meg Moonbeam YouTube, Rumble channels, and social media pages. Meg, thanks so much for joining us today.
Wow, Michael, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here on your channel. I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah, likewise. I've watched you for, I think, years now, and I think you're one of the best out there. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we talked about maybe going into a little bit of your background, how you got into this. It's fascinating. You never thought you would be, like a couple people in your family that had mystic backgrounds and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny whenever I think about it to share. I do come from a lineage on particularly my British ancestral line. I'm half Portuguese, half British, first generation born Canadian. I have astrologers, psychics, a part of that British line in particular. And yeah, I was always surrounded by spirituality, astrology, the woo-woo, the paranormal, but never ever thought I would get into it professionally, never thought I would be a public-facing. I started to speak out a lot more online and just sharing the astrology of what was going on, Michael, because you're probably aware that the Western astrology literally predicted what was going to happen in 2020. So us astrologers, we knew that there was going to be like the most malefic times of our lives, that there was going to be something absolutely crazy happening. Some astrologers like the Leo King, David Palmer, who's one of my favorites and one of my mentors, he actually predicted literally and was, source of control from elite forces. So there were some astrologers that literally predicted exactly what it was, but all of us knew something really intense was going to happen. And after that, and just seeing how accurate the astrology was in terms of mundane astrology, which is the astrology of world events, I felt, you know what, I need to talk publicly about the astrology because it helps us navigate what the heck is going on and all the crazy changes. And then as soon as I did that, it was just people started asking me for readings, videos, courses, and been on that ride ever since.
And it's a good ride because I've benefited and many others have benefited from it. And then of course my personal reading, which we'll get into in just a second. But tell us a little bit about, because I'm doing your course, beginner, and then I have the advanced coming up, and we can go into a little bit about that. But I'm just like stunned at your information. People in the chat are going, "Yay, woo woo!" I'm a woo woo type guy. Remote viewer, intuitive, influencer, and so forth. But, I have a very, very strong analytical background, having been a Navy SEAL and CIA and so forth. So I have to balance it, and you balance it very well in your courses. Some of the best I've seen. So and we can talk about all the stuff. I'm just so excited about all the stuff in your course. It's so amazing. But you share that, freely in your information. So that's fantastic. But tell us a little bit about the history going back as far as you want to. Give us a little rundown. Why have the rulers of us for, eons looked at astrology, and why did they make us believe that it was not any good?
Oh my God, I'm so happy that you're bringing this up because astrology is a spiritual science, first of all. right? So there's many people out there, kind of normies, muggles, as I like to call them. And we love our normies out there, but there's a lot of people that think that astrology is just complete BS. It's woo woo. It's based off nothing. It's, being a charlatan if you're an astrologer. And that is totally not the case. Astrology is a science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was one point where astrology was actually part of astronomy before it got demonized, and we'll talk about that. But what's cool about astrology is all of the meanings of the signs, the planets, the transits are actually based off of the astronomical significance of them, right? So, for example, Jupiter, just technical example, is the biggest planet in our solar system, right? And it actually has a gravitational field that protects us from constantly being bombarded from asteroids and cosmic debris all the time. If we didn't have Jupiter, we would not be here right now, right? So that's kind of the astronomical part of the meaning of Jupiter. We bring that into astrology. We say Jupiter is the divine protector. If people have strong Jupiter in their chart, they're divinely protected, like you do, Michael, as we're going to talk about, really, really strong. And actually, funny, we're filming this on July 29th, 2026, which is full moon in Aquarius Day. And we also have exact Sun conjunct Jupiter. So there's also a strong Jupiter influence to today. So everything astronomical brings the astrological significance. So all of these meanings don't just come out of nowhere with astrology. It's a science. And real science, not normie scientism that we're coming out of right now. It's looking at the cycles and seeing what happens every time we have a full moon in Aquarius. And there are themes and there are similarities, and history repeats itself. So going to your piece that you're bringing up about the elites, yeah, astrology, I think, goes back even farther than we realize. Part of the current astrology of right now, one of the themes is there's a lot of disclosure as we're seeing truths being revealed. And I think one of the things that is going to unfold is we're going to learn about how truly far astrology goes back, that we've been utilizing it. So Western astrology was kind of invented in ancient Mesopotamia times, and that's the kind of astrology that I like to practice. There's many other different kinds as well that I do resonate with, and I do think they all have their own significance. But astrology is real. It is not BS. And this is why elite groups that are losing their power now, as I like to say, they all use astrology. They all have personal astrologers, which is unfortunate that those astrologers have sold themselves out to the dark side, if you will, any of the astrologers working with those bad guys. But it is very, very powerful. And thousands of years ago, in particularly when we were in medieval times, we had the whole demonization of astrology and the witch trials, which I kind of talk at length about in my astrology beginners course, which you shared that you were taking. They would look at your chart, and it was totally normal to bring in the astrology to the medical practice. Oh, can you hear me okay right now, Michael? I got a little bit of a disconnection there.
Good.
We're good? Okay, I'm just going to keep talking. I don't know if it's my connection. Is it my connection or your connection?
I don't know, but you seem to still be coming through good. So
okay, I'll just finish what I was saying there. Yeah, so before the witch trials, for example, if you went to the doctor, they would take into account your astrology as well. And actually, any doctors that didn't practice astrology were not taken seriously. How crazy is that? Now we're living, you were looked at as a joke. Oh, he doesn't do medical astrology. Screw that. I'm going to go to the other doctor over here, because it shows up in your chart, right? There's many different kinds of astrology, and medical astrology is one of them. So we're coming out of this time now, in the greater astrological cycles, an age of Pisces, which we've been in for over 2,000 years. And this is one of the dark astrological ages where we're under mind control, brainwashing, control of the dark cult, as we have been. And we're coming out of that now. And the wisdom and gift of astrology is coming back, and we're seeing it as a really big trend coming up again.
Wow. I'm going to switch our internet source. Sometimes it gets glitchy for whatever reason. And so when it does, I just switch, and it seems to work better. So We're going to have just a short little pause. So here we go. Hopefully that works much better, but that happens sometimes with this type of information. Obviously, it's beneficial, and they don't want us to know that. So we talked about you were talking about how the beneficial aspects of horoscopes, and if you went to a doctor and he didn't know anything about astrology, you were like, well, you're not any good. And I saw that with you and the reading that you gave me, and you were, I've had psychics that were exceptionally good, and I'm like, yeah, you're pretty amazing, but you nailed some stuff that was happening in my life that you would not have known, and you did that through the solid astrology, and you're intuitive, so that's like multiple benefits when you give a reading, obviously. So one of those was that there's going to be a shift that's coming up in my life, and you caught on to that. And I'd already started to feel that. I felt this before in the past when I was going to get a major shift, and you caught on to that. And you said within this period of time, you're gonna be shifting. You're gonna be doing this, and you've been maybe thinking about doing this type of stuff. And I would recommend that. So tell us how you do that. That's pretty impressive.
How I do that? Oh my God, that's a really loaded question. How I do that is, I've done over 4,000 personal readings at this point, and I think I've put in my 10,000 hours. You know how people talk about you become like really good at something once you put in the 10,000 hours. So I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but just saying that, and anybody can do this actually, if you put the time into the astrology. All of us can utilize astrology for personal, or even integrate it into your professional use as well. And how I do that, I just look at your chart. I kind of bing, 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 bing. Like my mind is a little bit of a computer because I can see everything that's going on. Look at the themes and, your major placements, what's going on with those. And even by looking at your birth chart, I don't even need to look at a transit chart. I just know, okay, based on everything happening right now, you've got this transit, this transit. So one of the things when I looked at your chart, can I share something in your chart, Michael? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah. So you've got your sun at 4 degrees of Libra, which is really, really nice, air sign. And so one of the major things you're having right now, as we talked about, is all the outer planets. Well, actually 4 out of the 5 outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter, are exactly aspecting your sun. And all those outer planets are actually in a formation called a cradle right now. I'm calling it the cosmic cradle. Some astrologers are calling it Barbeau's basket because there's a French astrologer who's passed away now that said this cradle aspect we're having this summer 2026 is the most benefic aspect he's ever seen.
Wow.
So even though there's really crazy things going on, there's very positive, supportive astrology for humanity in the whole world. So that cradle is exactly aspecting to the degree your sun, which is you, because those outer planets are at fire and air in 4 degrees. So that's one of the things I went, okay, yeah, there's going to be a really big change. That's for sure. Things aren't staying the same.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And you talk about different people in your course that have had beneficent planets like Venus and so forth. And there's planets that are, like Saturn is not so beneficial, but it's a teacher. It brings in different aspects that help. I've been like that quite a bit in my lifetime, where I've had some rough spots where it taught me a lot. And I've had that throughout my life, but that's part of my planetary alignments too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were tapping into that on their different levels of consciousness. Now, recently I was at this one ranch, Isetti Ranch, and I talked to James Gilliland, and this one question that came through: today feels like when you hold your breath, right before the other shoe drops. Please expand astrologically, Meg. Thank you.
Wow.
So now I've been feeling this a lot. We will come up onto something and I'm like, something massive is coming. And then it's like it shifts and then it's like it's not there. And James Gilliland was like, what we're having is a fold in the timelines where we're coming up on something that's going to be massively tragic, and then the timeline folds and we end up on the other side of it. What are you seeing about this?
I agree. Yeah, I've been feeling that a lot, that theme around the timelines and things shifting. It makes sense in the Western astrological sense because timelines are ruled by Aquarius and the planet Uranus. Uranus is in exact positive aspects right now to the outer planets, which are generational. So positive timeline shifts and unfolding. We're talking today on a full moon in Aquarius. Pluto is in Aquarius. The North Node just entered Aquarius. We're entering the age of Aquarius, and that rules timelines. And so, yes, I do still feel that we are in for some very big events, world events.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I don't say that from like a fear-based place of it's going to be the end of the world, it's the apocalypse. I think we're already going through the apocalypse. We've been in the apocalypse for years and years and years, and we're being extremely supported through this time. And the astrology can kind of show themes of, okay, what areas of life is that going to be affecting specifically? And we can talk about that if you want. But I've even been feeling like in the day-to-day timeline shifting, just moments where things start to look different. I feel different. I can literally physically feel a shift. I've been hearing multiple people saying that as well. And I do think that we have gone past a lot of potential timeline humps of possible really negative events, for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. You talk about in Venus, there's Princess Diana. And you looked at her chart and everything. She was beautiful. She had great style and everything. Everything showed in the chart. And then you said there was one source where there was like this evil planet or whatever that impacts, and you show that in there. I forget what it was, but
Yeah.
can you if you looked at Dr. Fauci's chart, would you possibly see something like that on a mega scale in his chart? How would you approach that?
Oh my God. That's so funny that you bring that up because I was looking at his chart earlier today and I just realized I forgot to bring it up on my uncensored horoscope today that I do on my website. But all of these people, I was going to say guy, I think they're shapeshifters. I think there's weird stuff going on. I don't think they're just fully human because it's not normal at all, their behavior. But they do have their astrological charts, which makes sense. So I don't understand how that fully works because they're obviously part human or part whatever. I do think that these people have to put out their charts. So sometimes I'll see people in my comment section going, that's not even their chart because they wouldn't show that. Actually, I would disagree. Michael, you've definitely heard of the concept of in plain sight, right? That
Yep.
These dark arts people, they have to show things in plain sight for us to accept it. So yeah, would you like me to bring up Anthony Fauci's chart? Because I'd love to
Heck yeah, that'd be
bring that
awesome.
up, actually.
Wow.
Okay.
Sweet. Perfect.
Yeah. Let's bring that up here because I actually made an interesting astrological discovery recently where Anthony Fauci, Jeffrey Epstein, and Bill Gates, they all have their Chiron, which I'll talk about what that is in a second, at 0 degrees. Critical degree. Now, one of my astrology teachers, Nicola Stoyanovich, who's a genius, I think he's the greatest astrologer of modern times. Nicola Stoyanovich, if you guys ever want to check it out. He invented the degree theory, which is the concept that every degree is associated with a sign. And we can actually look even deeper into each of the planetary placements by, okay, so Fauci, and this makes total freaking sense. Capricorn, malefic sign. Moon in Scorpio, malefic sign. Okay. But then there's also the degrees on there. Now, I want to preface by saying we don't have his exact time of birth, but he was definitely born December 24th, 1940. So just going back to his Chiron, which I made this discovery about a month ago when I did a Chiron class on my membership. Chiron was an asteroid that was discovered in the 1970s that rules our deepest wounds, pains, triggers, our healing journey in this lifetime. And what I found was all of these crazy psychopaths have Chiron either at 0 degrees, which is the strongest degree. So if you have something at 0 degrees, it's a very prominent placement, right? And that makes sense because Chiron is your wounds. So these are all psychos hurting us from their wounds, right?
Wow.
From a wounded place. They have not done the work on themselves. And I personally think they've all been mind controlled themselves, experimented on themselves. Like it's actually forces above them that are controlling them, kind of thing. But I thought that was really interesting finding that out recently, that him, Epstein, Bill Gates, they all have that Chiron 0 degrees. The full moon that we're having today, and some of you guys might have seen, Dr. Fauci was in front of Congress today, right?
Yeah.
Is in might be exactly conjunct, in a square to his moon. We don't know exactly what degree his moon in Scorpio is, but it was square his Pluto and his Chiron. Pluto rules the shadow side of life, the darkness, secrets being revealed. Now, it was kind of disappointing in the sense that he just sat there the whole time and said, what was it that he said, Mike? He's like, I plead the fifth. My counsel is telling me to plead the fifth. So, okay, in one sense, it's like, okay, that kind of sucks because he didn't actually say much. But then on the other sense, it was so ridiculous, that whole testimony, that is going to wake up so many people.
God, I so believe that. And I've been waiting for this moment for so long to all this information to get out in front of the public. And they did it all today. It didn't matter that he wasn't, responding.
Yeah.
They were bringing it out so everybody could see it and hear it. And the Congress men and women were like, you are like evil. It's like, wow. So, and one of them was like, I think it was Josh Hawley. I think he comes out and he says, and I want to, all those Democrats over there that, supported Fauci and took pictures with him and all that stuff. I want everyone to see that and know that and hold you accountable. Oh my God. Wow.
Wow. And you know what's crazy? Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein, they are all having Pluto in Aquarius right now, making adverse aspects to their natal Chiron, because they all have Chiron in fixed signs. So it makes sense. They're all being exposed for the wounds they have done onto others, Chiron, because of their own issues and wounds and abuse that they've probably endured too. And I don't mean to excuse these people, but at the end of the day, these are people, beings, whatever the hell they are, that have been, I think, created to do what they've done.
I love it. And you're so fun. You're like, whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, whatever the hell they are.
And you're always talking like that. That's one of the things I enjoy about your shows and so forth. You bring humor into it, and that's one of the things you'll see a lot of astrologers. They're like, it's just analytical. It's like, oh, put me to sleep. But you're fun. You're having fun with this. And of course, you're exposing some very negative things here, but it's fun to learn, right? And this is what we're doing here. So good job.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have to laugh, because if we don't laugh, we're going to go crazy, right? Because it is horrible stuff going on. And literally all of their charts, I mean, I could talk to you for hours, like looking at all of these people's charts. It shows up in all of their charts, very gnarly stuff. And I just want to say, just to be clear, Anthony Fauci, Capricorn, moon in Scorpio, doesn't mean every Capricorn with their moon in Scorpio is bad. I actually am a Scorpio with my moon in Capricorn, but those are two signs that are most likely to go to that dark side, because they're the two malefic signs, right? So he's very much, his dark side is about control, abuse of power, manipulation, lies, and he's done that, which is really unfortunate, but does show up in his chart. And I was listening earlier to, have you ever heard of, what's that guy called? Um, the High Wire, the High Wire show. Oh my God, what's that guy called? He's worked with RFK Jr., the host of it, Del Bigtree. He had a lawyer on earlier today, and Del Bigtree was saying, well, it looks like it's over. We're not going to see the justice being served. And then the lawyer he had on, and I'm forgetting his name. Sorry to whoever you are, Mr. Lawyer. He was saying, no, this isn't over yet. Fauci actually really screwed up today. Right. Because he did a whole opening statement. I'm getting chills as I say this. He did a whole opening statement, which he didn't need to do, which he said a bunch of things in there that they can actually call him back for. The pardon from, the fake pen, right, was actually supposedly only pardons what he did before that was signed. So that doesn't account for anything that happens after it was signed, according to this lawyer I listened to. So I don't think this is the end of Fauci. And I think even if we don't see that justice, like see him going in jail and justice being served that way, there is always the higher level justice that will be served. Definitely.
Yeah. And there was a couple of, I think Ron Paul said that you can keep pleading the fifth, but you're in front of Congress and you're supposed to provide information. And by not providing information, that holds you in contempt, which is more stuff. And he says, and we're going to look at this and deeper, and we're probably going to, find some things that we're going to bring suit against you or something. So, and a couple of people said that. So I think you're right. And that's one of the great things about looking at the horoscope and the planetary alignments and so forth. You kind of get, like you're talking about, you get a feel for what's coming. And this is one of the things that I think is very important for us going forward, to get that feel for what's coming. Because, we're in this crazy time. And if we don't work together and support each other and give each other the info that we need to get through this, we can succumb to their machinations.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's look at some other things. So we're looking at the people that are out there right now. Jeannie Dixon, she said, President Kennedy, please don't go to Dallas because there's going to be assassination attempt. She was telling him that for the day before. That's insane, and he still went. I'd be like, okay, I'm not going. But some people just blow it off. What is the disconnect with people getting because the stuff you told me, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel that, and I'm not going there, or I'm going to do this, and this is going to happen in my life now, because you validated some things are already starting to come through.
Right. Yeah. It can be challenging because as humans, with our ego and being on this dualistic plane, we have a tendency to want to try to really plan things out, sometimes even control things. And it can be hard when the astrology, which I like to call it a lot of the times, just the weather, the energetic weather, right? If the energetic weather based on your transits or the collective astrology is showing, actually, you know what, this isn't the best time to be doing this certain thing. When we go against that, that's when things can be really, really gnarly and hard to deal with. So even working with astrology, it can help you to plan things out in your life, even places, Michael. There's even the astrology of places, which is one of my favorite things to get into, so astrocartography, locational astrology. So I'm not familiar. You said Jeannie Dixon. I've never heard of her before.
Yeah, she was a astrologer back in the, I think, 70s, 80s, 90s is when she passed away. I think 97 or something like that. But she gave a lot of readings to the top people. I think even to Nixon, the Nixons, and to the Reagans. So she was always giving readings like you're doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I forgot her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all these people, all these politicians, all these people, they have astrologers.
Yeah.
Right. But even myself, Michael, even me being a Western professional astrologer, sometimes even knowing the astrology, I'll go, you know what? I want to do this thing, or there's this appointment, or there's this time I want to travel. And every time I try to go against the astrology, it's, oh, okay. Yeah, actually, that wasn't the best time to be doing that, or that could have gone a different way. So astrology helps us tune into the natural cycles of life. And I like to call it like the energetic weather of what's going on. And right now, part of our astrological weather is to be open to change, real deal change. Our plans that we've had throughout our lives, most of our lives, we've been in a huge mind control,
Yeah.
even if you're an awake person. Right. There's been so much mind control, so much brainwashing, so much deception, weird, even frequencies. That's what part of Aquarius is going to reveal to us as well. Like what's been going on with frequencies being blasted at us, the skies, all of that. This is a time to remain open to your life actually panning out in possibly a completely different way that you plan, but it's actually better than what the original plan would have been, right? And this is a time of major breakthroughs, major insights, new opportunities that may seem kind of weird, but it's really good to be open to those things.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I've seen on other podcasts, we talked about it when we did my reading, where you were with another psychic, really good psychic, and you guys were talking about Edmonton, basically, coming into the United States, and you gave some really good readings on that. So again, Canada has been so incredibly suppressed and manipulated over the last several years, from 2020 on. And it seems like there's going to be a final breakaway. I've been seeing it. You guys saw it. Tell us a little bit about that, how you came upon that, and what were your thoughts on that are, because you're living there.
Yeah, I'm living in Alberta right now currently, which very fascinating. Ever since actually our last election, which I just realized is over a year now. So we had our last federal election, I think it was April 2025, when Justin Castro, as I like to call him, not Justin Trudeau, he went out, he took the boot, he left, and all of us were like, yay, but the Liberals got voted in again.
Mm.
And now we have Mark Carney, who is this absolute, actually even worse than Justin Trudeau / Castro, because he's like a globalist banker, I think a lot more high up than Justin. And that kind of literally from the day after, or a couple days after our last Canadian federal election, we had this very strong Alberta independence movement start. And actually, a lot of you American friends out there might know, might not know, and people of the world, that there's actually been an Alberta independence movement for a very long time.
Huh.
Alberta has been wanting to become its own country for a very, very long time. But with recent times in Canada, the craziness of the Canadian Liberal Party, everything that's been going on, it's been getting really strong. And we have a referendum happening here in Alberta on October 19th, 2026, where Albertans are going to get to vote on whether they want to remain in Canada or start the process of becoming an independent country. And this is actually, it's a little weird because there's a lot of forces trying to make this not happen. This vote on October 19th is actually the vote to have an official vote in spring of 2027, which it sucks that it's ending up having to be that way. But I actually think it is very possible that on October 19th, over 50% of Albertans will vote that they want to have the official vote to separate. Even if that does not happen, I mean, the astrology for Alberta right now is absolutely wild, and it makes total sense what's going on. Canada is not staying the same. That is over. And even in the chart of the astrology of Canada, that is over. Canada is going to dissolve. It is going to dissolve. It is either going to become like own individual separate countries, or maybe even territories of the state. Some of you guys might not like me hearing that, But this is what's going to happen, because the truth is Canada is a fake country. And I'm saying that as a Canadian.
Wow.
It makes no sense that Canada is a country, right?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree.
If you look at the history, and there's a lot around that, but it's just, like the US is subsidizing Canada like crazy. There's a lot to say about why Alberta wants to go independent. A lot of people in Alberta, not everybody, but a lot of people. One of the reasons being, for those of you who may not know, the rest of Canada, particularly Eastern Canada, where I'm from, Ontario, Quebec, all that, they do not respect Alberta. They see Alberta as, oh, those are hicks out there in the oil fields and the farmers and whatever, when actually those are the hardest working Canadians with really brutal winters and the place that actually values freedom, right? And Albertans' votes don't even matter, Michael. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but when we have our federal elections, it's similar to what you guys have in the States, where because there's different time zones, different portions of the votes will come in at different times. And by the time it gets to the point where Alberta on the west side, all their votes come in, it's already been decided.
Wow.
So Albertans, it's so ridiculous. They're not respected at all. So it's a whole tangent with that. But long story short, this is serious. This is not a joke. Where we live in a very small countryside town, like in the wilderness of Alberta. And a lot of people have independent signs. A lot of people have independent signs. You are constantly seeing independent signs when you drive around, when you go anywhere. This is like a really big movement. So I do think there's a possibility that it might happen in a different way than we're expecting, because Alberta has very strong Uranus influence in its astrology, and Uranus is unpredictability. So I don't think it's going to be as simple as, yeah, we're having this vote and then we're becoming a country. I think the US is going to give an offer. I think Canada is going to give an offer. I think there's going to be a lot of options on the table.
Wow. And Alberta basically is funding the rest of Canada for a great extent because of the rich oil fields and so forth. And, cowboys, you got the one of the biggest rodeos up there in your area than anywhere in the States even. So that's everybody in America loves a good rodeo. So, and we appreciate people that are, in our country, Second Amendment rights, gun rights and so forth. And I know that's very strong in Alberta as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, the origins of Alberta, it's actually very different history than the origins of Eastern Canada, because it was American patriots actually that founded Alberta, if you will. That's why we have the cowboy culture, the rodeo, like so many similar things, because it was actually people that came from Texas and Western states up here, because there's also very rich farmland and resources and things, but then became a part of, the Corporation of Canada at the end of the day under British rule.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of us psychics are saying that there's going to be some significant earth changes that are coming up. I've seen a lot of that. It's already starting to happen. I said this year would be even more impactful than last year, and I think we're coming up on some significant earth change events. And when I say earth change, I mean like earthquake, volcanic activity, tsunami, all that kind of crazy stuff. So what in the charts, tell us about something like that coming?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a lot, and in particular for the United States, actually, because the United States, and we talked about this when we connected like 1 or 2 weeks ago on a call, the United States is going to start to have, well, it's already started to have its Uranus return, third Uranus return. So what that means is once every 80-ish years, Uranus returns to the exact same place as it was, whether it's a person's chart, a country's chart, institution's chart, when it was born. And Uranus rules unpredictability, shocks, surprises, explosions, volcanoes, weather events. Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, the skies, storms, yeah, can basically have to do with any kind of weather event like you're talking about. And I do think this is happening worldwide, but of
Right.
course, we are going to see a very big emphasis on this, I think, in the States, actually. And now that we have the North Node having just entered Aquarius, Aquarius in astrology rules the weather, a lot of Aquarius influence, we're seeing these changes through the weather. So I talk a lot on my channel, and again, never want to sound like I'm coming from a fearful place, but just a heart-based place sharing the astrology. Be prepared for anything possible to happen where you live. And we all have different kind of weather events that can happen depending where we live. Here in Alberta, there can be wildfires, there can be cold in the winter that's so cold that the power can go out. So, okay, how do we get prepared for that? Always have firewood, have a fireplace, have extra food and water, empowering ourselves to be prepared if any of those things do happen. But like we were talking about before, we have been timeline skipping a lot of these more negative events, really challenging events. So we'll see about that. But I think it's already happening. I mean, there's so many wildfires happening all over the world right now. It's not normal.
Yeah, and I thought that the middle of America would get a lot of dry and fires and so forth, but we're seeing it not just in the middle of America, but around the world. And usually I can pick up on that stuff, but for whatever reason, it probably is the El Nino that's going to be a super El Nino, probably the biggest El Nino in history is what I'm thinking. And we're moving towards that, and it causes major, events throughout the world as far as like weather and so forth. And the sun's kicking off a lot of energy. So it's like this massive change that, the earth goes through throughout, history. We've had massive cycles like this, Lemuria, Lemuria falling, Atlantis falling, and perhaps we're coming up on another, event like that. What are you seeing for that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of major weather events, but the difference between now and Atlantis, and there are a lot of similarities and parallels, but when the fall of Atlantis occurred around 12,000 years ago, that's when we started to enter a dark astrological cycle 12,000 years ago. And we saw the fall of Atlantis, and we entered a fall age, which we've been in for 12,000 years. And we literally saw whether it's the mud floods, whether it's, the explosion of Atlantis, which changed the landmass of the earth. Now with us entering a light age, so it's not about we're falling, we're actually uplifting. It might not be literally as intense as it was at the fall of Atlantis. It might be more just like weather phenomenon, solar storms. Yes, Earth changes, but I don't think it's going to be in that fall kind of huge destructive way that we had it 12,000 years ago.
Yeah, and I couldn't quite put together, because I see us going into a golden age, like you're talking about. There's a transition phase. We're in that final transition phase, and usually that transition phase, there's a lot of excitement. And it's moving into something positive. So you can't have a massive negative going into a positive. So you just have to have a cleansing type. All right, break free from that because that's not serving us anymore. And some people are going to cling to it, like the financial system that we know has to go away, the political systems, which we know have to go away. All this is going to be traumatic for a lot of people. But on the other side of that is phenomenal.
Absolutely phenomenal. I agree. And like what we're seeing, for example, what came up with Fauci, right? It's so ridiculous. Don't come for me, whoever's listening to this, but it's like these people should be in jail. There should be justice.
Yeah.
These people should not be allowed to still be roaming free, destroyed people's lives. I won't go on the whole tangent about that. But the systems we have, they have to fall, you guys. It has to fall. It has to destruct so that we can have the new ones that are built where there is proper justice, where there is proper trust in, these different systems of organizing the world. I don't even want to say authority, systems of authority, there must be a better word for that, but that's what we're coming into, entering an age of Aquarius where there is justice, where there aren't going to be people doing these crazy things like some of these psychopaths, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a phenomenal way to put it. I love that. And some of these people we're gonna see them like you're speaking about. We're just gonna know. Yeah, you're not gonna get into leadership mode. No, that's not gonna happen. Like Carney, and we'll have the power to decide. I think going forward.
Definitely. Yeah. Are you finding too that it's becoming easier and easier to read people now? Like the dark side is just right. You can just tell as soon as you look at someone, as soon as you hear something. That's what I'm finding right now too.
Oh yeah, my Tracy, my wife, she's like phenomenal at that. She's always been really good at that, but her abilities, I think, like a lot of us, are really increasing. She'll call out stuff, and she's pretty animated about calling out. So it's kind of a joy, and sometimes it's like, okay, that's enough. But yeah, I think more and more people are going to tap into that. It's pretty impressive. Great call. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting Tracy soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So so we're seeing timeline shifting. Our consciousness has an effect on that. So calling some of this stuff out, some people don't want to hear it. I find that, and I'm like a little bit frustrated with that. It's like, look, guys, it's not that I'm trying to draw it in. It's that I'm trying to draw attention to it because, like you said earlier, they have to tell you what they're going to do. And if you don't protest, then they bring it. So are you seeing some of that as well?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's actually part of the dark side of the sign of Aquarius and the age of Aquarius, because Aquarius does rule trends, trendiness. And I noticed it in the astrology community. There's, astrology has boomed recently, which I'm very, very happy for. But Michael, you wouldn't believe the amount of astrologers during that time in 2020 that did not speak out.
Yeah.
And it was so obvious.
A lot of people that I followed that were psychic, and they're like, oh, I don't know about this. I think we need to go along with this. And I don't see Trump, being a good guy. And I'm like, what? And I was like, okay, you're off my list of people I follow. But there was a lot of that. And why is that? What rules people's brains like that in the planetarily? So.
Well, I think it's hard for some people for their whole worldview to be shattered.
Sure.
Right. Because when you realize actually we've been living in this world where, in modern times, it's been under this Rockefeller system that literally from every direction, they're trying to disempower us and poison us. That's scary. And when you speak out on that, like I've been speaking out on that publicly, wow. I lost all my clients. I lost even spiritual guides that I had, mentors. They told me I was negative. They told me I need to smudge myself because I was warning people against the you-know-whats, right? Yeah. So I understand why many, whether it's an astrologer, psychic, influencer, I understand why many people kept their mouths shut because it's scary and it's hard. I don't think it's a positive thing to do, but now we can look at history and see, okay, who was it that actually spoke out, right? Who was it that wasn't afraid to say the truth? And in terms of the astrology, for those of you who may not know, I think it was January 11th or 12th, 2020, we had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So the two main malefic planets, Saturn and Pluto, were in a conjunction at 22 degrees Capricorn degree in Capricorn. Now that is the most malefic thing we've ever had in our lifetimes. And that's why many of us astrologers knew something really bad is going to happen in 2020. This might be the worst thing that's ever happened to us, right? And many astrologers made their kind of different predictions of what that was. At the time, I didn't have my channel and I wasn't talking publicly. I was more just talking with friends behind the scenes, and definitely government overreach because Capricorn has to do with governments, right? Control, politicians, and power. But it was so obvious. And it is disappointing that so many astrologers were too scared. And many astrologers have, just gone with the trend. Even there's a conference that happens called the United Astrology Conference.
So you're one of the standouts. So congratulations, good job, and the more reason to follow you and celebrate your work. So that's unfortunate. We saw that with a lot of people. And now today, with this congressional hearing and Fauci being called out, a lot of those people are what? What happens to these people? Do they say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong," or do they slither away?
Hmm. I think they're going to start trying to slither away in their little reptilian caves, but I don't think they're going to be able to stay slithered away. I do not think they're going to be able.
Wow, okay.
With the astrology of right now and how strong it is in this Aquarius influence, Aquarius is rebelliousness, protest, revolution, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think, and I'm not calling upon violence at all,
No,
but
no.
I do not think that they're going to just get to slither away in their holes. I think there's going to be, I do think there will be justice. And some people think I'm airy fairy when I say that, but that's just what I feel. And I'm just going to say that because that's what I'm feeling. And I think that that makes sense astrologically. And it does make sense uh, in the way, and I was talking about this earlier on my channel about how we actually need justice to heal as a collective
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we've gone through so much trauma, lies, and deception. So there actually has to be the right in front of our faces, us seeing justice being served so we can actually heal and move forward, right? And all these people trying to slither away, that's all manipulation. That's all lies. That's all big money, which is not the most important thing in the world. Of course, we need money to survive, but they can't hide anymore. Like we were talking about, those darker energies are being exposed. Like there's so much being revealed every single freaking day. It's crazy. Leaks of things, messages, diaries. So that's going to continue.
Yeah. And I see the same thing. I said a lot of these people are going to try and run and hide, but we're going to hunt them down. It'll take a while, but we're going to get them. So yeah, that's unfortunate. And even the people that were just verbally abusive to us, like you're talking about, you got to get your shot or you can't come to this event. Yeah, that's going to be a problem too. And today, I think, was the beginning of that on a massive scale. Everyone's seeing that, and there's a lot of people are like, "Oh," you could even see Fauci when he was holding paper, he was like shaking, and reading his statement, and I was like, "You're pleading the fifth on a lot of stuff, but you just gave away a lot of info right there in that statement you made, and that's going to be held against you." And I think that's coming.
I totally agree. I think it was absolutely epic, actually,
I
what
mean,
just happened today. That was absolutely epic. All of those, and I know there's a lot of, not great people in politics, and it's very
sure.
swampy, but I think there's some great guys and gals in there too. Some of those people that said what I think billions of us want to say. I felt they were actually like channeling all of us as an Aquarian collective. And I love that moment. What was it? I forget what that guy says, but he cursed at one point to Dr. Fauci. Did you see that clip?
I did, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a show this afternoon. I'm gonna play that clip.
yeah,
Epic, yeah, very good stuff. But
yeah.
I agree that's a really good point. Uh, where they channeled us, and that's part of the, like we've talked about. I know you've done the same. That we have to work together, stay focused, and it's going to come because our energy is not being compromised, and it keeps pushing, and it's eating away at the dam, it's running around behind it, undermining it, and that dam is getting ready to collapse. We're so close to that, and when it does, it's like yee hee woohoo. It's like we're gonna just keep going and take all this stuff down so fast.
Totally. And I feel also intuitively guided to say, I think over the course of the next month in particular, because we're speaking today, July 29th, on this full moon in Aquarius. And I personally noticed through my predictive work that lunations have an effect for very strong the whole next month period. there is going to be huge dismantling, which is Aquarius, and that can be scary, right? A lot of us are like, yay, finally, we've been waiting for that. But if you're a normie, as we like to call some of our normie friends and families endearingly, that's scary for them, right? So, and they're going to be triggered. And even some of us may be triggered at times. And I'm just feeling guided to say, like, right now is a really important time to be patient, compassionate, and loving with not just ourselves, but also other people in our lives, even the people that we may not agree with, right? Because they're coming from a place of, imagine not knowing any of the stuff that we know, Michael, from our research and our years of study, not knowing any of that kind of stuff about what's really been going on the planet, and then seeing all these systems die, right? So we're going to have to really hold a lot of space too for our brothers and sisters out there. And, they may get triggered, they may say mean things, they may act out and project, but just having strong boundaries and being in that compassion, I think is really important right now.
Oh, that's very well said. Now, war. There's obviously the Iranian war and the Ukrainian-Russian war. I see these things being resolved within probably the next year, year and a half at the most. What are you seeing for those conflicts?
You think the next year, year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So year and a half, that brings us to like 2027, 2028. Yeah, it's interesting right now because we have the planet Saturn and also Neptune in the sign of Aries, which rules war. And many of us astrologers predicted, starting at the beginning of 2026, when Saturn and Neptune ingress into Aries, there's going to be even more war and explosions and conflict and ego issues of politicians like playing out as well. And I think it was the start of the Iran war, if I'm not mistaken, that I did predict the start of to the date earlier this year, just using astrology, looking at the Iran chart. And Iran is an Aries sun. So Iran right now has Saturn and Neptune on its sun. I agree with you. I think this is going to take a little while to play out. I don't think this is just, next week, this is going to be over. This is going to take a while. And we've got Saturn in Aries until April 2028. So from now until then, plus we're in a fire horse year in the Chinese astrology too, which I do resonate with the Chinese astrology as well. And, that can bring up more war, conflict, wildfires, fiery energy like we've been seeing. Right. I think it's going to go on for a period, but I also think there's a deeper significance to why Iran, why the Middle East, because these are sacred lands. These are sacred lands where there are portals, there are stargates, there are ancient sites, there are giants. Did you recently see the Joe Rogan episode of the guy, the military guy, talking about the giants?
Oh, was that the Kandahar giant?
I think so. Yeah.
I was over there during that time frame, and
oh my God,
can say that it's a real deal. Yeah.
Oh my God, I did not know that. That's so crazy. That's so cool. Like there's all these things going on over there. It's one of those places that I feel intuitively the veils between the physical and the spiritual is very thin. England is like that as well. There's also places in the US like that, but the Middle East is very much like that, where if many people were traveling there right now, hunky-dory, I think a lot of people would be having paranormal experiences and like posting that and taking videos. So I know there's the oil, I know there's the political conflicts going on, but I actually think there's deeper spiritual woo-woo reasons why these wars are happening over there. Yes. It's because these are stargates. It's because we have the pyramids, Egypt in that vicinity as well.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Excellent. So so we've covered quite a bit. Wow. And we agree on a lot of stuff. But you're coming in with even deeper insights. And I think that's because, like you said, this is a science, spiritual science. And that's so impressive on so many different levels to learn that and understand that on a deep level like you do. So great stuff. All right, so now let's look at ETs. Yeah. So the ET phenomenon, I think, they talked about Project Bluebeam. being some kind of event. It's I say no way that's going to happen now because there's so much disclosure that's going on now. What are your thoughts as far as the ET? I think we're going into a process of disclosing. It can't be like ETs show up next to, although President Trump has been doing memes with ETs, a lot. So, but you can't say, he's going to show up with real ones, and everybody's going to go, oh well, that's disclosure. Here we go. No, that would blow people away. But by doing the CGI or whatever, AI generated stuff, I think it's part of that disclosure. But I think we're still in a process that's going to continue probably for a couple more years. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's going to take some time because, as you said, if this were all just to come out right at once, people would like have heart attacks and die,
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing. Like people wouldn't be able to handle it. Very interesting. I'm just trying to bring up my chart here and see when exactly what I'm thinking of is. I think it's next year in 2027. November 16th, 2027. It's interesting because I go intuitive like you, Michael. So as soon as you said that, I just went, okay, this is making me think of November 16th, 2027. We have Pluto in Aquarius exactly conjunct the North Node in Aquarius. This could be literally like a disclosure day or something huge happens with ETs because Aquarius rules ETs, outer space, astrology, anything universal or cosmic. But Pluto, again, it's that malefic, that dark side of life, which I do think, of course, there's positive ETs, there's negative ETs, and there's the shadow side that it has been hidden from us, our galactic origins, our star family connections. You look back at any indigenous group, right? They all know that ETs are real. And they would actually call ETs their star family, most of them. And some of them even consider themselves to be related to different star people. So the ET thing, it's not just like, oh yeah, there's aliens out there and there's other dimensional beings. It's actually a part of our ancestry spiritually that we are connected to other races. And so it's a very special thing that part is important to bring up, how that's been hidden from us. And I think part of that North Node Pluto conjunction November 2027 is we're going to learn about how deep this ET story goes, how much has been hidden from us. Like I'm psychically seeing the Vatican right now. We know so much is being hidden in the Vatican, ancient texts and things. So, oh yeah, I agree with you. This is going to be an unfolding. And I do think that what's it called? Project Bluebeam. Is that what it's called? Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, where they have a fake alien invasion. Mm-hmm.
That is like their final card. That is their absolute desperation card, which, the dark cult, they might go there because they are absolutely desperate. Maybe not. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of revealings, which is exciting in that area of life.
And I said it was last one, but there is another one. I wanted to say President Trump. Both of us are kind of, thinking the same thing on President Trump. His first term, I said halfway through his term, there were going to be some problems. Of course, I think there's another close call for him midterm as well. And what I think you might have seen some stuff on that too. What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's so interesting, Michael, because every time I bring this up, I get a lot of people really upset at me when I start to talk about Trump's astrology. Yeah. Because, like, to be honest with you guys, it is very, very intense. Yeah. And I am surprised that he is even still the president right now. And that is not me coming from a place of, I don't like him, I don't want him to be the president. It's just the astrology of he has extremely adverse transits right now. Wow. And I think something is going to come to a head over the course of the next 1 to 2 months. There could be a medical issue. I mean, he's already got medical issues going on, right? There's been pictures of him with like things going on with his neck or his veins. I'm forgetting what it's called, but there's been some things going on,
Some
right?
swelling and stuff. Yeah.
The swelling. So, okay, medical side really highlighted as a challenge astrologically for him. Plus, like he's got assassination astrology, which I'm very sorry to have to say that, but like even Nicholas Stoyanovich, one of my astrology teachers, said without a doubt he will be assassinated, which I don't want, but just saying there's multiple things in his chart showing that there could be an assassination or something that happens where he has to step out and he doesn't finish his term. And
Yeah.
if I actually had to lean one way more than the other, I would actually bet on I don't think he's finishing his second term. I just think there's way too many really adverse transits. In saying that, though, he does have super weird Uranian astrology because Uranus is conjunct his North Node and his Sun. So I do think there's a lot of weird things going on with him where we don't know the whole story. We don't know everything going on behind the scenes. But this is definitely a make it or break it point right now for him. And we talked too when we had our call that his chart is filled with hidden enemies. He's got hidden enemies all over.
Oh God, of course. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Crazy how many people are turning. It's almost like we're going through and pushing back or trying to. I don't think it's having the effect that it did last time, but yeah, there's a lot of pushback and so forth. Now I've said that I saw him. We see a lot of his doubles, and I think he's in a secure place, and I've seen him there for quite some time. I don't know what's going on with that. If we do have another folding of the timeline around a problem area like we've talked about, it remains to be seen. But as things are progressing, I agree with you. There's something coming up that's going to be challenging, and hopefully we get through that. Obviously, if it wasn't for President Trump, we wouldn't be where we're at. But imagine he's the only one. No, there's a group that's brought him in. There's a group behind him. Somebody else, if he falls out, will probably, hopefully, be pushed up. So, what last words on that? What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I think, again, this theme of really big shocks, surprises, weirdness, unpredictability. I think if something does happen with Trump where he doesn't finish his second term, it's going to be very unexpected. Like we wake up one day and, oh, he's not the president. Or I don't really see him. And again, timelines can change, things can change, but I don't psychically see him like making an announcement. Hey guys, I have to step down. To me, it feels like if it happens, it's very sudden.
Right.
It's very like we wake up one day and what the heck? And now this person is there, or, this thing is happening. What's going on kind of thing. So I want to mention too, with astrology, we have a saying, the stars impel, they don't compel. Okay, you guys. So I'm not always 100% right with the predictions, nor is any other astrologer or psychic. There's many different possibilities with the transits, with the different placements in our charts. When I make predictions, it's because I see multiple things pointing to the same theme. So whenever I go, on this day, I think this is going to happen, and I literally say a day, it's because there's multiple things astrologically pointing towards that. But, things could play out in a very different Uranian, unexpected kind of way. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But as we go into August 2026, we step into a eclipse season. Every 6 months we have eclipses. And from August 12th to 28th, we're in an eclipse portal. Second last eclipse portal, we had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Last eclipse portal, I think the Iran war started during that time or right after, if I'm not mistaken. So we have very big world events with eclipse times. And I think that during this time, there could be something also, a very big shift politically, collectively, also with royal families right now. Very interesting because royal families ruled by Leo. We have the South Node in Leo, Jupiter in Leo, major Leo influence too. So I see also over the course of the next year, royal families changing, dissolving, being exposed further as well.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible stuff, Meg. You're amazing. Now, how can people reach you? MegMoonbeam.com.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my website, megmoonbeam.com, and I'm on social media at megmoonbeam. And yeah, that's where you guys can go check out my stuff if you like to. I do many different things. You see me, Michael, I'm like doing crazy stuff all the time. I do my uncensored membership. So that's where you get I say whatever the heck I want to say on my premium and astrology club memberships. I do multiple horoscopes a week. I do seasonal specials. There's lots of behind the scenes perks to my uncensored memberships. I also have astrology courses, which I love. And I'm so happy to hear that means a lot to me, your feedback on my courses. I'm very grateful for that.
Everyone should do those courses. I'm serious. They're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Insight. And I was, so now that we're talking about that, I meant to bring this up, but I'm listening to Jupiter, and you're talking about how Jupiter absorbs a lot of the impact that the other planets would get, because it's such a big planet. It can absorb, like, astral bodies coming in that would impact us and probably cause massive earth change events. But Jupiter just sucks them in, and they blow up on Jupiter, and it keeps on going.
Exactly. I love Jupiter. We love Jupiter in astrology.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So any final words, closing thoughts?
Just thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so happy that we got connected recently. And I want to thank you for everything that you do as well, because I find you to be somebody that, you share a lot of different information, but you also have that very positive energy. People can tell, and I've talked to a lot of people about you. Everybody says the same thing. They can feel you're genuine and you have a positive energy. And that's important, because in this field, not everybody has a positive intention. We need to be very, very discerning. So I'm very grateful for everything that you do. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. And hopefully we can get some you and Jen's back on, doing a little roundtable. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
I love Jen's information as well. And you guys working together, that's a cool interaction you guys have going on. So yeah. So thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully, like I said, we can do some more shows in the future. I'd love to have you back on again, because you're cutting edge, and you're constantly seeing the stuff that all the elite, if you will, are tapping into, and they're saying, "Oh, that's no good. Don't follow that." But I think after everybody sees this show, if you still have that attitude, something wrong with you. This is definitely information you need to be paying attention to. Good job. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, everybody.
What we thought we knew but didn't really know, and now we're supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clone Stubble's made-up movies, Hollywood style, and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Monday, July 27th, breaking. Trump says Obama guilty of treason. Leader of the gang, Barack Hussein Obama, he's guilty. This was treason. We have all the documents. Biden, Comey, Clapper, Brennan. The whole group was there. Alcatraz. David Lester Straight announced that military tribunals have been ongoing since 2020. A military official confirmed that military trials of deep state leadership have been held at Guantanamo since 2020. Global currency reset. On Tuesday, July 28, 2026, the global financial reset locked in for America and 208 nations. QFS activated instant humanitarian project funding. Tier 4 Internet Group and Zim bond holders received redemption appointments.
Judy note, no one knows the exact date for notification of appointments for Tier 4B, US, the Internet Group, to exchange foreign currencies. But deadlines shown in the above timing indicate it to be very soon. We have been told that Wells Fargo, which is controlled by the Chinese elders, the ones who own the gold behind the global currency reset, will send out emails to currency and bond holders worldwide, telling them how to set redemption and exchange appointments. It is advised to redeem your foreign currency at an official redemption center, RC, rather than a bank. You can only redeem ZIM at an RC. The dinar contract rate can only be given at an RC, and banks will offer you lower exchange rates than what you can obtain at an RC. You can only set up your new wallet bank account at an RC. It was my understanding that most banks were under control of the cabal and would soon play a different role in the global financial system.
The gold BACKED currency BRICS LAUNCHED. The dollar is dead. 847 trillion in fraudulent debt erased. The global financial reset is live. UTC. India declared that the BRICS unity currency was supported by 22,847 metric tons of gold. Operation Code. Operation Currency Liberation 726. The activation. BRICS nations complete final gold audit. Holdings verified by all 209 countries. Total, 22,847 metric tons of pure gold, the biggest gold reserve ever assembled. The deep state's fiat currency system is over. The fall, dollar fell 47% in 72 hours. BlackRock and Vanguard are both getting sold at the same time. The stock market is going down the tubes. This is the financial apocalypse that deep state tried to stop. The new system, BRICS unity currency, is now world standard. 1 unit equals precisely 1 gram of gold. No inflation. No manipulation. No central bank. Trump on July 24 authorized the U.S. to transition to gold standard. Treasury is turning $4.2 trillion of assets into physical gold. America is moving into the new system. The Operation CODES. Operation Currency Liberation 0726 equals BRICS launch Operation Dollar Collapse imminent equals currency death Operation Gold Standard activation equals new system protocol 22847 metric tons equals gold verification code 0847 UTC equals activation timestamp. July 22, BRICS completes gold audit fact checked. July 24, Trump approves gold standard approved. July 26, unity currency now. July 27, dollar officially abandoned imminent. July 28, global financial reset locked in. So what does this mean? Tier 4B holders become BILLIONARES instantly. Currency revaluation rates start. The wealth transfer is underway. The deep state's 100-year control is broken. The old banking families are done. Their fiat money is useless. Their debt is canceled. They are powerless. The witness, one Fed economist, went dark. She has internal memos. She has audit reports in gold. She has proof that the Fed knew about BRICS 18 months ago and did nothing. She's under protective custody. Her testimony will kill the Fed. Operation Currency Liberation 0726 equals ACTIVATED BRICS Unity Currency equals Live Dollar System equals Dead Gold Standard equals engaged. When your bank account is updated with the new currency, you'll know it's real. The old system is over. Prosperity is the new age. Global reset. While corporate media anchors label these events as isolated software glitches or routine maintenance, the physical reality across global markets confirms the exact operational shifts. The commercial banking SHUTDOWNS are live over the last 48 hours. Major international banking networks and payment clearing hubs across multiple regions experienced sudden, synchronized processing freezes. ATM networks and digital mobile banking apps went dark simultaneously. Why? Because the legacy central banking software rejected unbacked fiat routing packets as the ISO 20022 quantum verification filters locked into place. Aviation and logistics network overrides major transport and supply chain logistics grids reported sudden communication drop-offs and system reboots. These are the exact tactical corridors where the old maritime logistics tracking codes are being scrubbed and replaced by autonomous sovereign verification nodes under alliance oversight. The media silence on corporate FAILURES. Notice how quickly the mainstream financial networks glossed over the massive liquidity clearing anomalies at primary commercial institutions. They are under strict administrative gag orders because the old balance sheets cannot reconcile physical asset backing ratios. The transition from theory into physical reality is no longer a forward projection. It is unfolding in real time across every public ledger, banking terminal, and communication grid on Earth. Look at the public error screens, read between the lines of the corporate reports. The physical proof is right in front of you. Stay sharp. Stay encrypted. The restoration is moving fast. Mass arrests, bombshell. 300,000 federal indictments. The swamp's collapse is imminent. The biggest corruption takedown in U.S. history is happening now. 300,000 federal indictments. The very core of the swamp is crumbling. Politicians, judges, CEOs, Hollywood elites exposed. Child exploitation, human trafficking, treason, asterisk, every crime imaginable. The list is astounding, and it's only the beginning. This isn't just another scandal. This is a full-scale purge. Gitmo is preparing for the flood. Planes are on standby. The deep state's worst nightmares are coming true. The swamp tried to hide it. Sealed indictments, secret trials, media. Blackouts, but patriots fought back. The numbers skyrocketed from 35,000 to 60,000. Now 300,000, a tidal wave of justice that can't be stopped. Gitmo cells are filling fast. The elite's crimes, especially those targeting children, are the darkest stains on this nation. High-ranking officials, both Democrat and Republican, exposed as predators. Pedophiles, traffickers, Satanists, all of them. They thought they were untouchable. They thought their secrets would stay buried. They were wrong. Massive resignations, sudden retirements, desperate media distractions, they're running scared. But there's nowhere left to hide. The noose tightens daily. Gitmo is waiting. The storm isn't coming, it's here. Trust the plan. Justice is being SCR.
Okay, this scenario is 70% certain. These wires are hitting worldwide from Japan to military leaks from the Pentagon. You always have to remember we're only moving information and are not beholden to 100% for certain outcome. With this being said, these wires are hitting countries. CAT is the C3 in Truth Social. 7. We're going into this huge nuclear event standoff. This huge near-world event that could annihilate Earth, for people to experience that. But for this to go nuclear, it's not going to happen. This scare event is important for world military courts for a lot of countries going into tribunals after this event. From powerful sources inside Japan and China, the military in Japan, China, and Russia are preparing for Russia to pull off a strike inside the UK, and Trump-US military alliance are going to allow this strike because deep state military industrial complex systems inside UK, Germany, France, and other countries developed ballistic missiles and weapons being funneled into Ukraine, attacking Russian fronts, Russian cities, and strikes inside Russia. Okay, just a shout out to Charlie Ward. He is right about a lot of stuff, and I don't think he gets enough credit. And that's why I listen to him. He's over time, he has proven to me to be one of the more accurate podcasters. So, shout out to him for telling us this last week about a strike inside the UK, possibly.
Anybody living nearby, RAF Fairford and the other military bases, Lakenheath, Wattisham, all of these other bases, anybody living nearby, prepare for your own personal firework display, because these bases will no longer be needed. And most of you had no idea you live next door to a base that is used not for what you think it is. It's used for human trafficking. It's used for drugs. It's used for money laundering. They were created to prevent war. They've landed up being used to create war. And Donald Trump will dismantle them, like he is in the Middle East. All the bases are being dismantled. They're being dismantled all over the world because the deep state and the cabal will lose their power when they lose their money, their fiat currency. That's already in play. That's happening. But it's also very important that the military hardware that's in place is also removed. It's no longer needed.
All this moving conflict, powerful storm ops are connected to the final kinetic war. The last war using missile and telecommunication systems that have been running wars the last 100 years. The highest levels of the alliance, Trump, most only believe what they see and will get scared, but there are people who are awake, who understand this is staged, who know there's an alliance and a continuity of military government inside the U.S. FBI Director Patel is in China testifying at military tribunals on orgs connected to shipping banks, massive trafficking networks. Trump is threatening to raise tariffs on 60 plus countries if they don't stop forced labor. And what he's talking about is trafficking. Trump is going after globalist ops that go back to Rome, the Vatican, the Jesuits. These storm ops are going to expose everything, but everything has to be done by the books, and Trump is exposing it slowly.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026, and there is so much going on this particular week. There's a lot to do with the financial systems changing this week, none more so than what's happening in Japan. Japan has just ended the Bank of Japan's independence. That means that Washington, D.C.'s silent coup is complete. And the fact that they've been using Japan as an ATM, those days have come to an end. Huge changes happening. But to distract you from everything that's happening in the financial world, the media is putting out there that Ukraine has decided to attack Iran, and Iran is attacking the Middle East, and this and that and the other. This is all part of the distraction. It's all part of the movie. And just be careful, because at this moment in time, there is more misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and complete bullshit out there. And don't fall for it. This is all part of fifth generation warfare. This is all part of the plan. Don't live in fear. The dismantling of the old system is in full flow. And we're now seeing it all collapse. And the deep state, as they call themselves, or the cabal, or the parasite class, that's what we'll call them, their days are over. And you're privileged enough to live through that and watch it just be dismantled in real time. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Well, millions of phones across Australia sounded an emergency siren on Monday during the first nationwide test of the country's new Oz Alert warning system. The 10-second alert was sent to compatible phones, tablets and smartwatches using mobile tower broadcasting technology. Authorities say it was a previously announced national test, not the activation by wartime emergency broadcast system. Oz Alert is expected to launch officially in October and will be used to warn the public about bushfires, floods, cyclones, terrorism and other serious emergencies. The test was intended to identify any technical problems before the national launch. Charlie, what's your thoughts?
Well, this is something we've got a lot of information on. We've done a lot of research. And a lot of people in Australia have been doing their research, because not only is this an emergency broadcast message coming through the phones, we're now learning that the frequency they're using will activate. You're putting yourself at risk. But if you've done no research, you won't know this. Thank God that those people are awake. I spoke to somebody this morning. They said, Charlie, I've put my mobile phone in the microwave oven. I'm not going to use it. So that if the emergency broadcast comes through, number one, it's off, and number two, it's in the microwave oven. But this is all part of the pantomime. This is all done to wake people up. The emergency broadcast, that brings me on to my next story. We're hearing a lot about that at the moment in the Middle East. They're saying that the emergency broadcast could happen as early as tomorrow. Could shut down the whole region. For me, wouldn't it be wonderful if the internet was shut down for 10 days? Oh, it would be absolute bliss. But the question I ask everybody is, are you ready? If this happened, and the emergency broadcast happened tomorrow, are you prepared? Are you ready? It's a very, very important time. We've been warning you many, many times about this. The question is, are you ready? My next story is more personal, because we've now found out from Spain and France that all the wildfires there were started on purpose by direct energy weapons. Now, for me as a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather, the loss of life because of these fires is poignant, because I lost my own son in an accident. But this is going on right now, and it's important that this comes to an end, because this is done on purpose. This isn't accidental. This is on purpose. My heart goes out to everybody there. We're away from there at the moment, but they are the whole way across Europe right now. Many, many fires. Drew.
Next up, the Federal Reserve begins its two-day interest rate meeting, with financial markets watching closely for any change in the monetary policy. The Fed will not announce its decision until Wednesday at 7 o'clock UK time, followed by Chair Kevin Walsh's press conference 30 minutes later. Investors are focused on oil-driven inflation, rising borrowing costs, and the possibility of another interest rate increase. A separate pre-scheduled closed meeting of the Federal Reserve Board is also taking place to discuss monetary policy issues.
Well, this is all part of the changing of the system. Everything that's coming into play right now. The whole financial system is changing. I told you this a long time ago. It's now happening in real time. I saw it happen in real time 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. Now the movie's playing out for you to see. So for me, it's a great pleasure to sit now and see the world seeing what I had the privilege of seeing 3, 4, 5 years ago, all unfold. And rest assured, it's going to be bumpy, but it's going to be fun. I'll leave you with that. That was the news on the 28th of July 2026. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Donald Trump says states need to embrace data centers. You have to convince your community how great these things are. You're going to make a tremendous amount of money. You're going to reduce taxes. Your community and your state's going to become rich. And there's very little disruption, and again, if you don't take all that money, somebody else is going to take it. You might as well do it yourself. Okay, surprisingly enough, I have found some evidence for data centers actually lowering taxes for some communities. This happened in Loudoun County, Virginia. In Data Center Alley, data centers now generate a very large share of the county's property tax revenue, hundreds of millions to nearly $1 billion annually. This has allowed the county to lower the residential real property tax rate every year for roughly a decade. What is the greatest threat to the United States? Mass Muslim migration, funded and pushed by radical left oligarchs who hate our Christian roots and everything America stands for. Nasara Jassara on Telegram, the brainwashed liberals that you've been seeing in the streets this past decade causing chaos and destruction, are slowly being groomed. Little by little, they're being conditioned to commit even more heinous acts of violence against Christian MAGA. The line to cross gets pushed further and further away from them each time with every new orchestrated event. Why? Because at some point when they're forced with the choice to join radical Islam or be executed, they won't hesitate to join and hunt down your Christian family members in the streets and execute them. Many of these liberals are already at the tipping point for their switch to flip. These are future foot soldiers for radical Islam being groomed to murder us all when the time is right. Oh, moan. 27 July 2026, Marco Rubio says Iran secretly doubled production on building long-range rockets, short-range missiles, and drones. Their plan was to have so many stockpiled they would use them as defense while building nuclear weapons. John F. Kennedy Jr. On Telegram, what you need to all understand is Iran has spent the better part of 20 years not just sponsoring terrorism, but building long-range rockets, short-range missiles, and drones. And they were intending to build them a lot more. They were intending to double their stockpile of the stuff you're seeing them use now. They were going to double that. And they were going to use that and hide behind that to say, we're untouchable. We can now do a nuclear weapon, and you guys can't touch us, or we'll overwhelm your air defenses, which is why the president had to address this threat. And he did, and he should have found reporting that confirms all these claims. Iran was significantly accelerating production of these weapons. They planned to use them as a shield to overwhelm airstrikes. These would deter strikes, while they worked on their nuclear program. Muslims with nuclear weapons is going to be catastrophic for anyone who isn't. The Council of NICEA, the day THEY snipped your soul out of history. In 325 AD, a bunch of men got together under the leadership of the Roman Emperor Constantine to decide what you were allowed to believe. That was the Nicaea Council. It was not a spiritual meeting. It was a political meeting. They wanted to unify a broken empire by establishing one state-sanctioned religion. To do so, they had to prune the existing sacred texts, excising everything that empowered the individual and replacing it with a system of external control. They didn't just compile the Bible, they took your divinity out of it. The biggest cut was the concept of reincarnation. Early Christian sects and the Gnostics believed that the soul is eternal and has many journeys before it can reach enlightenment. This knowledge made the population uncontrollable through fear. If you know you are blessed with infinite lives, you don't fear the eternal damnation of one life. The council replaced reincarnation with the one life, one judgment doctrine, creating a spiritual bottleneck that forced the masses to depend on the church for salvation. They made a cosmic law into a religious subscription service. They also suppressed the Gnostic Gospels, including the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. The texts taught that the kingdom of heaven is within you, a state of consciousness. They said that Christ was a level of awareness that any person could achieve, not a single deity to be worshipped from afar. These texts they labeled heresy, and in this way they effectively unplugged humanity from its own internal guidance system. All had to look to a central authority, the Church, to speak to the divine for them. The Alliance has recently obtained the original, unedited scrolls from the vaults beneath the Vatican. These lost books contain the technical manuals for spiritual ascension and the true history of the soul of man. These texts will be the great revealing the 1,700-year-old fraud that has kept humanity in spiritual infancy. The deep state tried to infiltrate VP Vance's security detail. Trump's team caught them. This is how the Patriots are dismantling the swamp, Mr. Poole. Final chapter. On July 23, 2026, the Secret Service announced an investigation into a deep state operative embedded inside their agency. A Secret Service agent assigned to Vice President J.D. Vance's protective detail was caught leaking classified information. But Vance and Trump were ready. The agent, Tomas Escato, is a BIDEN holdover, a deep state mole planted inside the Trump administration's security apparatus. His mission was simple: gather intelligence on Vance's movements and feed it to deep state operatives planning to destabilize the administration. But Vance saw it coming. VP Vance, operating at the highest strategic level, deliberately allowed Escato to believe his cover was intact. Vance's team fed him false information while Trump's military intelligence monitored every communication, every meeting, every betrayal. This was a sting operation. When Escato leaked classified information to undercover operatives, Trump's team had everything documented. Project Veritas released the video footage. The deep state's playbook was exposed. Now the investigation is criminal. Escato faces federal charges, but this is just the beginning. The investigation will reveal an entire network of deep state operatives embedded throughout government agencies. Vance is ORCHESTRATNG the exposure. The VP's strategic genius allowed him to identify the mole, document the betrayal, and set the trap. Every deep state operative who thought they could infiltrate the Trump administration is now being identified and removed. This is Trump's strategy in action. Let the enemy reveal themselves, document their crimes, then strike. The arrests are being prepared. The military tribunals are being scheduled. The deep state's final stronghold inside the federal government is being dismantled. Vance is winning. Trump is winning. The patriots are in control. The deep state thought they could outsmart the Trump administration. They were catastrophically wrong. Every move they make is being tracked. Every operative they deploy is being identified. Every plan they execute is being documented. Vance's intelligence network is the most sophisticated operation ever assembled. Trump's military team is executing with precision. The swamp is being drained one traitor at a time. Justice is coming. The swamp is being drained. The awakening accelerates. Share this everywhere.
Please keep Commander Thor in your prayers. He is recovering from severe exhaustion. And remember, he's been hunting down the combined evil and rescuing children nonstop with the light beings in the deep ancient tunnels under Switzerland and beyond. That's like 80 miles down. I guess he wore himself out and is currently recovering. I know he would appreciate your thoughts and prayers. Okay, so with all of that said, I'm at Restored Republic via AGC. White hats begin mass arrests on over 2 million indictments. World's largest military sting operation, covering over 32 countries, including arresting 312 U.S. federal employees, 15 U.S. university presidents, 47 contractors, 3 Congress members, and 8 judges, while running in partnership with foreign governments. A $47 million per year illegal bioweapon research to be sprayed on the people to reduce the population.
God will not compete with the glitter of outside influences. Instead, he patiently waits for us to make time for him, to choose him. As we do, we hear his voice more clearly, feel his presence more fully, and recognize his hand more readily in our lives. When we put God first, all other things fall into their proper place or drop out of our lives. When we seek to eliminate distractions, the time we reclaim becomes sacred, making room for the things that matter most. Judy note: the White Hats began mass arrests in the world's largest military sting operation ever, according to Julian Assange and White Hat Intel. Some of the most recent arrests surrounded U.S. university presidents and federal judges. Evidently, the deep state has been using federal agency networks to coordinate a massive coup in an attempt to overthrow the American government. This coup against Trump and the American people was recently discovered by Trump's intelligence team. The basis of the coup was to conduct illegal bioweapon research at U.S. universities in partnership with foreign governments. The bioweapons would be sprayed on the people to reduce the population. They found 312 federal employees ran the $47 million per year operation that funded deep state black operations across multiple federal agencies. Every single federal agency had a chief diversity officer who reported to a shadow network operating inside the Department of Justice. Involved were 15 university presidents, 47 federal contractors, 3 members of Congress, and 8 judges who were coordinating with foreign operatives to develop biological weapons on American soil. The money flowed through shell organizations, universities, and nonprofits. Swift transfer records proved $8.3 billion in fraudulent research grants went to certain U.S. universities. Trump, Global Military Alliance, has already arrested 312 federal employees in connection with the coup. The second wave would target university presidents and contractors. The third wave of arrests would be coming for Congress and the judiciary. Additionally, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last week, Trump hinted at arrests in a $2.7 billion voter fraud operation that has been running for the last 4 years. Ken Paxton was coordinating treasonous activities with 47 Texas state officials, 3 federal judges, and 12 university administrators. Together, they created a sophisticated voter registration scheme that altered election results in 3 critical swing states. On Sat. Morning 25, July 2026, military intelligence conducted a raid across Texas, Washington, D.C., and 3 other locations. While arresting 47 officials, they seized servers, Swift transfer records, and encrypted communications. The operation was believed funded through shell companies in the Cayman Islands and Cyprus. Military tribunals on those involved in the coup would begin with live broadcasts on SAT. 1 August 2026. Tribunals on the voter fraud cases were set to begin SAT. 15 Aug. 2026. Trump was preparing a 48-hour national address to discuss the above and other critical issues. When he spoke, the emergency broadcast system would activate on the new Starlink satellite network by way of a blackout of all mass media communication devices, TV, radio, internet. This blackout and national address was coming very soon, a power shift to military control and opening the door to the awakening. On SAT. 1 Aug. 2026, when the light turned back on, nothing would ever be the same. On Sun. 26 July 2026, around 6:50 am the EBS went off in Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, New York City, Philadelphia, and Seattle. Sun. 26 July 2026, military intel bombshell, FISA equals start, the unveiling of the deep state's 16-year plan to destroy American Media Group A. Sun. 26 July 2026, situation update. Sun. 26 July 2026, situation update. Boom. Global currency reset. DSUN. 26 July 2026, the big day is almost here. Over the next 24-48 hours, we should see the final activation steps. Official notifications may arrive at any time, signaling the start of the new financial era. The reset will go live very soon. Central banks and financial leaders worldwide will jointly confirm the switch, effectively launching the new quantum-secured monetary system. Wallet rollout. We will be guided on how to access the QFS wallet. I'll be among the first to log in and see my new digital assets. The process will likely involve encrypted app updates or official messages, but it will be straightforward thanks to all the prep work. Financial reset. Expect to see new currency rates posted in your wallet. Old debts may be adjusted or canceled. All these changes will be enforced by the blockchain for full transparency. Every transaction and update will be viewable on the ledger. Smooth transition. All prior demonstrations have been successful. In fact, a recent pilot showed a completely offline quantum-safe digital currency transfer working flawlessly. With our security protocols and support teams ready, we anticipate a seamless shift with minimal delays or glitches. I am fully confident in the plan. Everything is in place for a smooth transition to the QFS. Keep your notifications on. We're just hours away from a revolutionary change in global finance.
Judy note, no one knows the exact date for notification of appointments for Tier 4B, US, the Internet Group, to exchange foreign currencies. But deadlines shown in the above timing indicate it to be very soon. We have been told that Wells Fargo, which is controlled by the Chinese elders, the ones who own the gold behind the global currency reset, will send out emails to currency and bondholders worldwide, telling them how to set redemption and exchange appointments. It is advised to redeem your foreign currency at an official redemption center, RC, rather than a bank. You can only redeem ZIM at an RC. The dinar contract rate can only be given at an RC, and banks will offer you lower exchange rates than what you can obtain at an RC. You can only set up your new wallet bank account at an RC. It was my understanding that most banks were under control of the cabal and would soon play a different role in the global financial system.
The financial system knows. A chief central bank auditor just sent US his resignation letter. Read it. Nasara Jasara QFS Med Beds on Telegram to the Board of Governors, Federal Reserve System. Effective immediately, I resign. I have spent 22 years in international monetary auditing. I have tracked trillions in capital flows across 45 central banks. I am writing this because I cannot carry the weight of what I know for one more day. In 2007, I was invited to a closed-door briefing at a subterranean facility in Basel. The briefing was titled, "The Quantum Ledger and Sovereign Debt Nullification." The lead architect showed us internal ledger synchronization data tested between 2004 and 2007. Asset-backed digital settlement, instantaneous, global scale, intermediary bank/centralized fiat, completely obsolete inflationary printing cycles, eliminated permanently wealth distribution, directly secured by tangible natural resources and entire global economy, stable, transparent, and completely free of debt slavery. No central bank interest traps, no engineered recessions, no artificial currency devaluations. We saw the live ledger bypass all traditional banking rails. Then we were told, this architecture is classified under emergency national security decrees. Any attempt to integrate, expose, or implement decentralized asset backing will result in immediate termination, asset forfeiture, and charges of treason. You are bound by permanent secrecy. We went back to our desks. We went back to signing off on currency printing that systematically robbed the global working class. I went back to level 4. That's where we audit fiat liquidity injections. Level 4. I went back to approving interest rate hikes that foreclosed on millions of family homes. I went back to telling the public, inflation is an unavoidable economic cycle caused by market forces. There was no natural cycle. There was an intentional, mathematical wealth extraction machine designed to keep humanity in perpetual debt. Since 2007, I have personally verified trillions in fiat debasement. Economic hardship is a manufactured cage. At least 90% of global poverty and debt could have been dissolved 2 decades ago using the quantum ledger system. Instead, I watched housing become unaffordable. I watched entire generations locked out of ownership. I watched sovereign nations collapse into bankruptcy while elite cartels consolidated every global asset. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am asking for this letter to reach every human being who has worked 60 hours a week only to watch their savings evaporate to inflation. That struggle is a lie. There is a financial architecture that rewards real value and eliminates central bank robbery. It exists. It works. The Basel tests proved it works. Your government knows. The central bankers know. They chose absolute financial control over your sovereignty. I chose my career and security over your freedom. I will not choose it one more day. To the billions trapped in debt slavery, I am sorry I was a coward. I am sorry I chose silence. My obedience kept the financial chains locked around your future. The silence ends today. Name withheld. Senior central bank auditor, 22 years. He watched the world drown in manufactured debt while true financial freedom sat in a secured ledger. He stayed silent. He is not silent anymore. Trump victory. Strait of Hormuz opens after ceasefire as global alliance crushes cabal and prepares EBS activation. Iran's deputy foreign minister declared the critical waterway secure, ready for safe passage of vessels. Reopening it was President Donald J. Trump's key demand in the ceasefire, marking a massive win against deep state warmongers pushing for endless conflict. The truce remains fragile with some early disputes over Lebanon, but Vice President J.D. Vance leads negotiations confidently. He called the initial choppiness normal in any ceasefire. Lasting peace talks begin this weekend in Pakistan. Patriots, the storm is here and intensifying. With the U.S. corporation dissolved, President Trump restored American sovereignty under the original Constitution. As commander of the global military alliance, he authorized the final takedown of the satanic deep state cabal worldwide. Commercial banking shutdowns, live field telemetry, and social proof. Real-world SYSDEMS in reboot. Tier 4B, ISO 20022. On Telegram, while corporate media anchors label these events as isolated software glitches or routine maintenance, the physical reality across global markets confirms the exact operational shifts we outlined. The commercial banking SHUTDOWNS are live over the last 48 hours. Major international banking networks and payment clearing hubs across multiple regions experienced sudden, synchronized processing freezes. ATM networks and digital mobile banking apps went dark simultaneously. Why? Because the legacy central banking software rejected unbacked fiat routing packets as the ISO 20022 quantum verification filters locked into place. Aviation and logistics network overrides major transport and supply chain logistics grids reported sudden communication drop-offs and system reboots. These are the exact tactical corridors where the old maritime logistics tracking codes are being scrubbed and replaced by autonomous sovereign verification nodes under alliance oversight. The media silence on corporate failures. Notice how quickly the mainstream financial networks glossed over the massive liquidity clearing anomalies at primary commercial institutions. They are under strict administrative gag orders because the old balance sheets cannot reconcile physical asset backing ratios. The transition from theory into physical reality is no longer a forward projection. It is unfolding in real time across every public ledger, banking terminal, and communication grid on Earth. Look at the public error screens, read between the lines of the corporate reports. The physical proof is right in front of you. Stay sharp. Stay encrypted. The restoration is moving fast. Deep state in full panic. As insider, UNLESHES, BOMBSHLLS, ON, staged SHOOTINGS, burn bag SECRETS, and Obama's CACRATD, fraud as Trump's TRIBUNALS loom. 107 on Telegram in a riveting private exchange sending shockwaves through Patriot circles. A well-connected insider has dropped devastating truth bombs exposing the deep state's desperate attempts to cling to power. The revelations confirm what QAnons have long suspected. Coordinated hoaxes, evidence destruction, and elite cover-ups are collapsing under white hat operations as President Trump's return dismantles their evil empire. The insider detailed how he nearly joined Phil Lyman at a recent Turning Point USA event in Utah. Lyman presented on stage and walked off moments before the suspicious shooting. Had the insider been there, the narrative would have exploded. Serious doubts surround every aspect of the incident, from the bullet's bizarre path to absurd man-of-steel claims defying logic. Nothing rings true, pointing to a false flag to distract patriots. Questions swirl about Turning Point's prior push for early voting and mail-ins that the insider warned would empower enemies. He withdrew six-figure support for student education after they ignored the dangers, but now the original mission is being reclaimed amid scandals. The Trump administration is strategically repositioning key players, with discussions about shifts for FBI Director Kash Patel and others. This 4D chess keeps deep state off balance as prosecutions near. It ensures no liabilities ahead of massive arrests. Kash Patel's raids seized truckloads of Epstein files from FBI offices, intercepting burn bags in D.C. containing Kamai spying ops with honey traps, Obama drone authorizations over Bundy, and child trafficking links. Pete Santilli helped trace these to CIA servers on military bases, preserving digital evidence. These will fuel military tribunals delivering swift justice to Kamai, Brennan, and Mueller, who shielded pedophile networks and shut down probes tied to Aaron Swartz. The Loretta Fuddy affair, tied to current 2026 revelations, was a staged hoax to bury Obama's fraudulent birth certificate. Fuddy, linked to a CIA front group connected to Obama's mother, perished in a minimal crash near shore with military divers involved. Obama is exposed as a CIA creation groomed from birth, with Brennan fabricating his history and ties to Black Panthers as foreign intel ops backed by Saudi assets. QAnons, the storm is here. White hats control everything, with grand juries active and tribunals imminent. The cabal's illusions shatter as mass arrests loom. Trump drains the swamp perfectly. Victory is certain. Hold the line for the great. On July 25, 2026, President Trump stood at the podium and spoke directly about voter fraud. His words were calculated. His message was clear. Someone has been committing voter fraud, and his name is Ken Paxton. Mr. Poole final chapter on Telegram, the mainstream media immediately went silent. Why? Because what Trump knows about Paxton goes far beyond a simple scandal. This is about a $2.7 billion voter fraud operation that has been running for the last 4 years. Here's what they don't want you to know. Ken Paxton didn't act alone. He was coordinating with 47 Texas state officials, federal judges, and university administrators. Together, they created a sophisticated voter registration scheme that altered election results in 3 critical swing states. Sat. 25 July morning at 03:47 a.m., military intelligence conducted a coordinated raid across Texas, Washington, D.C., and 3 other locations. They seized servers, SWIFT transfer records, and encrypted communications. 47 officials were arrested. But here's the part that will break the internet. 3 federal judges were implicated. 12 university presidents were involved in the cover-up. The operation was funded through shell companies in the Cayman Islands and Cyprus. Sources inside military intelligence say the evidence is overwhelming. 847 pages of encrypted communications, $2.7 billion in fraudulent wire transfers, voter registration databases altered in real-time coordination with foreign entities, confirmed by NSA intercepts. The tribunals are already being prepared. August 15, 2026 is the date. Military judges, sealed courtrooms. The sentences will be announced publicly. Why is Trump announcing this now? Because the deep state is panicking. They know the evidence is irrefutable. They know the military has everything. They're trying to flee the country, but the borders are sealed. The QFS has already been activated. All fraudulent assets are frozen. $47 billion in seized deep state money is being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. President Trump is preparing a major address within the next 72 hours. When he does, the entire political establishment will be in freefall. The media will have no choice but to report the truth. They tried to kill Trump. The Qatar Air Force One was a Trojan horse, and Trump caught them red-handed. The deep state thought they were clever. They thought they could hide an assassination plot inside a $400 million gift from Qatar. They were catastrophically wrong. On July 4, 2026, Trump accepted the Qatari-donated Boeing 747-8 as his temporary Air Force One. Within days, Trump's security team discovered something terrifying. The aircraft contained sophisticated surveillance and weapons targeting backdoors embedded in its self-defense systems. The Qatar Intelligence Service, working directly with CIA operatives still embedded in the government, had installed kill SWITCHES in the jet's navigation and defensive systems. If activated mid-flight, those backdoors would have made Air Force One completely defenseless. A coordinated attack would have been untraceable. Trump immediately ordered a complete diagnostic. His team found the evidence. They documented everything. Then, the deep state panicked. The New York Times suddenly published classified information about Air Force One's self-defense capabilities, leaked by CIA assets trying to cover their tracks. The Trump administration responded by seeking the phone records of the journalists involved. This wasn't about silencing the press. It was about identifying which deep state operatives had leaked the classified information. The subpoenas targeted the reporters and their relatives because deep state operatives were communicating through family members to avoid detection. Trump's team had already identified the traitors. Qatar's intelligence chief met with CIA officials in Doha on June 18, 2026, just 2 weeks before the aircraft was delivered. The meeting was about coordinating the assassination plot. Trump knew. His military intelligence team had intercepted the communications. They knew the jet contained backdoors. They knew about the planned attack. The aircraft is now being retrofitted for security upgrades. But the real work is the complete removal of all foreign surveillance and targeting systems. Military engineers loyal to Trump are systematically purging every trace of deep state sabotage. Senate Republicans blocked Schumer's effort to ground the plane because they know Trump is in control. The aircraft will emerge completely secure, a symbol of Trump's victory over the assassination plot. The traitors inside the CIA, the FBI, and the State Department who coordinated with Qatar are being identified. Military tribunals are being prepared. The evidence is airtight. Trump turned their assassination weapon into a trap that exposed their entire network. Justice is coming. Patriots are in control. President Trump just made a move that absolutely terrified the deep state. On July 25, 2026, he put all federal diversity staff on paid leave, effective immediately. The media is calling it routine. Here's what they don't want you to know. What were these diversity programs really doing? While America was sleeping, 312 federal employees were running a $47 million per year operation, not for diversity training, for funding deep state black operations across multiple agencies. How did they hide it? Every single federal agency had a chief diversity officer. Each one reported directly to a shadow network operating inside the Department of Justice. The money flowed through shell organizations, universities, and nonprofits. Nobody was watching. Nobody was asking questions. What did Trump's team discover? Trump's intelligence team discovered encrypted communications. They found SWIFT transfer records proving $8.3 billion in fraudulent research grants to universities. These universities were conducting illegal bioweapon research in partnership with foreign governments. Who was involved in this conspiracy? 15 university presidents, 47 federal contractors, 3 members of Congress, 8 judges. They were all coordinating with foreign operatives to develop biological weapons on American soil. The evidence is overwhelming. What happens now? The arrests have already started. FBI director confirmed involvement with deep state. The first wave arrested 312 federal employees. The second wave is targeting the university presidents and contractors. The third wave is coming for Congress and the judiciary. Why did Trump move so fast? Because the deep state was preparing to activate their final contingency plan. They were using these networks to coordinate a massive coup attempt. Trump's team intercepted their communications. He moved first and moved decisively. When will the public know the truth? Trump is preparing a 48-hour national address. When he speaks, the emergency broadcast system will activate nationwide. The military tribunals begin August 1st. The evidence will be declassified. The pattern is clear. They built a system to hide trillions of dollars. They used diversity as cover. They infiltrated every agency. They were preparing to take down the Republic, but Trump saw it coming. The matrix is collapsing. The truth is breaking through.
With you, man. We've been over the target so many times, and now it's catching on. It's catching on. Steve Bannon. I love Steve Bannon. Mine. I met him at the We Build the Wall. I've been on his show a few times, just as your chief of staff. But he's saying it now, so it must be true. He's saying it. Trump will declare a national emergency before midterms. Gee, I wonder where he got that. I don't know.
I will say this. When you step through logically, methodically, where we're at, why we're at, Trump's moves and like that, it's becoming more and more obvious that unless you're going to pause the midterms, Trump is going to pause the midterms, what will happen or would happen at the midterms would be like a coup de grace. It'd be the final blow because we couldn't recover from that as a nation. No matter what way it happens, you cannot have a midterm election outcome the way it's scheduled by the globalista and America Survive. And so certainly there's questions about exactly how it plays out, but at the end of the day, there's no solution. You cannot have a election this fall under any circumstances now that would be a true, fair, honest election. Right. There's so much at stake, and the people that are pulling strings behind the scenes to pull off this fraudulent election, they're committing numerous crimes, and there's more yet they will commit to complete what they are trying to do. The manipulation is becoming more and more obvious within the election mechanisms. And the country isn't quite ready for this. You know, there's a reason why Steve Bannon has to forewarn the public, and then the public has to digest that. You know, as big an audience as Steve has, which is huge, he is still only one. You have to have the consent of the governed in order to operate effectively. President Trump needs the public to be in agreement with and adopt this idea that we're going to have to pause the election. So what he's waiting for is to allow the general public to come to consensus in somewhat of an agreement that there's no honest way to pull off the election. That doesn't mean all of the public. It means in reality, 80+% have to at least understand, don't have to fully agree, but they have to understand that things are so screwed up that you just can't proceed in this way. And that's going to have to wait until closer to the election. I don't, you know, there will become a broader conversation. Most people didn't see it because nobody reads it anymore, but Newsweek magazine, after I had Peter Tickton on the stage with me in Las Vegas, and we talked about the coming election, and he initially started to say, well, there's things we could do to maybe save the election this fall. And this is what everybody in the audience should think about, even with what Steve was just saying, Steve Bannon was just saying. But I asked him, I says, but that doesn't solve the primaries. And you already have stolen elections in the primaries. So the people you have a choice of voting for are already fixed. Unless you can reverse the primaries that have happened over the last several months,
Right.
and the few more that are going to happen here in just a couple of weeks, you can't fix the fall election because it's already fixed.
So Trump knows when he's going to do this. He has an idea. He's probably thinking, only Trump knows when he's going to do this, correct?
Well, and Trump has made it very clear. This is why he's done things
crazy.
the way he has. He has, on several occasions now, made it absolutely clear that even his speechwriters don't know what his next move fully is. This is extremely important. You have to be extremely clear on this. The main thrust of China's attack wasn't about a biological. It was about controlling elections. Remember the drop boxes. And by the way, and mail in, and they were going to go to electronic every vote on your phone. How safe was that going to be in a highly technological world where, you know, even Google in this period had testimony before Congress that just by changing the way that the parameters of a search engine operate within Google, they could throw 15 million votes minimum to any party that they wanted to.
Insanity.
Okay? So you're in a technological world where they were going to seal the deal. In Star Trek terms, a Tholian web of containment was being finished from which we would never be able to escape. Our masters, our slave masters, would own and control the future of the world. And so with that in mind, this group of, you know, total patriots, pure as the wind-driven snow within the military, have been running an operation in plain sight to recapture control of America and the world from these globalistas. The only way forward in this invasion of space aliens trying to take over the world, these people who are actually Luciferians, they really are aliens, Luciferian agenda to own and control the world for the next, 1,000 million years, whatever, to exterminate all of us that won't fall into this Luciferian agenda. it's becoming clearer by the moment. And the reason a broadcast like this is so important, Nino, is because now people have to think about and make a choice. Who are you going to back? Where are you going to go? I just had a very close friend, a great ally, who attacked Trump. He's compromised. Well, he's not compromised. He's why hasn't he acted so far? Why doesn't he just stop the election now? Why doesn't he fix all the machines instantly? Blah blah blah. You said Bannon was talking about a late August. A late August is uh, premature. Don't shoot to see the whites of their eyes. They haven't completed all the crimes. We don't do pre-crime here in America, and the public isn't quite ready mentally for what has to happen to protect us. The Constitution is agreement between the government and the people own and control the country, not the government. The government works for the people, but that hasn't been the way it's been going for quite a while. And so you need this final buildup that's got to happen here in order to, bring it to a head once and for all, and to allow these people, they have no choice but to continue the steal in this election. They have to triple down, quadruple down. And as they do that, they're anticipating that they will still be able to win. The reality is they won't be able to win. But it's a hell of a fight. Prayer
Absolutely.
required. There's so much at stake. But
here we go.
You're living through it right now. Forget TV. You're living.
Yeah, this is way better than
Just
TV.
one last thing, Dino. Think about what's the future look like as we do go into arrests. Initially, a couple over at Justice Department, which are just hors d'oeuvres, and the main body of arrests with people going to Gitmo, and the world stunned at the power players going to Gitmo. For most of the audience, it's not that they'll be in complete agreement with what Trump's doing, but they'll at least begin to understand and question enough that they won't fight completely what happens as the first players go to Gitmo. And that's when it becomes real. For most people within this audience, until there's an arrest, it's not real. And in fact, even the person that was criticizing Trump as though he's somehow compromised, the reality is they're all pissed off because there's been no arrest. The arrests come at the absolute crisis moment when the crimes have been fulfilled up to a point where we take them all in and for cause, and the public is going to be able to understand and agree with us on this is the only way forward. So there's prayer required because this is such a gripping thing. We don't want to lose the population getting through this next moment. They have to see and understand and agree with what's happening at some visceral level to maintain a flow of government, and we'll be okay here in the country. I mean, and even across the world. Spain, the government collapsed 4 times, and people were complaining we need another government collapse because it ran so good when the government wasn't fully in control, compared to when they were running things. People wanted another collapse. There's a moment coming where there is going to be high drama, but the machine is not going to be controlling our lives in the same way. And the reset in so many areas, the way that the election is held is the beginning, the way the economy operates. Those are the 2 things that Trump wants to leave office on as his memory: honest elections and honest money. And then in a atmosphere, a backdrop, when you do a painting, you do the background first, then you add in the stuff in the foreground. the background is he's bringing peace across the world. He's resolving conflicts that people thought would never be able to be reined in. Doesn't mean it's complete total. It's like, the 80% plus specific number. It's not 80%, it's 80% plus. You do that around the world and you bring a relative level of peace after the fact. When we go in and pull these people out of office and start seeing people going to Gitmo and the evidence,
I can't wait.
Fraud, it's going to change the world in ways that people can't even imagine right now. And hope, faith will spring eternal. And this audience, I believe, will be a huge part of that. What you've done in
they're ahead of the game. They're way ahead of the game.
Is a very big deal. And others are coming to this position. You just mentioned Bannon. Newsweek tried to take down Ticton after he agreed with me on the stage there in Las Vegas and did this huge article. How it's out of his mind. No.
Yeah. All right. Well, Juan, this was an amazing podcast.
So we gone for a little bit, went to Isetti Ranch, visiting James Gilliland, looking at the UFOs. So there's been a lot in the UFO community that have disregarded James Gilliland over the years. And, he's been around for like 4 decades. I've been following him for like probably about 3. But we've seen a lot of people that have been marginalized and, basically pushed down and pushed away. And then some others seem to have risen. And this is part of the program. This is part of what happens within the deep state community. They infiltrate. They get nice and close to everybody, and then they backstab them. All right. A lot of people have been shut down. A lot of people have walked away because it's dangerous to reveal. And then there seems to be some that just reveal and reveal and reveal and reveal, and nothing seems to happen to them. Very suspect. So James Gilliland has been, revealing for quite some time. I've seen his videos and so forth. I've had him on a show, I think once or twice before, but we're going to have him on again, hopefully in the next couple of days or so. And we'll talk a little bit deeper about a lot of this stuff. The ranch itself is absolutely amazing, very spiritual. There's like a Sasquatch that hangs out there. They're taking pictures of his footprint. People leave him gifts, food gifts, and so forth. He's got a lot of stories of it. Mother Mary, a lot of people have taken pictures and video and so forth. A lot of spiritual beings come in there. They were there while we were there, and we tapped into them. I saw the UFOs on 3 different nights that we were there. One night it was just incredible, the amount of UFOs. There's like a highway that's right over his property. And of course, one of the reasons why I stayed silent, having gone up there, because I was like, should I do a show? Should I talk about it? But he gets really leaned on by the military industrial complex for revealing. And that's what's happened to me. When I started to reveal just offhand UFO activity, and then they came after me. So when I see all these other people that reveal on a massive scale and nothing happens to them, I'm like, okay, who you working for? Who you working with? Who's promoting you? And we know their names, right? So I've talked about some of these names. It's not worth it to reveal some of the stuff. But another thing, I went there for an intuitive wellness course and learned a lot of good stuff. Rife technology. I did a Rife session. I bought a little Rife machine, and Tracy's like, I was there too. Yeah, you were there too. And so, do your own show, Tracy. So we basically had a great time there, and it was a lot of fun meeting with like-minded people. There were several people, lots of people there, and I just went there on the cusp, just random. They saw my name and it's like, is that Michael Jaco that's coming? So And then I show up, and so it was funny, fun time. And so a lot of people up there, they're using LifeWave technology, so it's very good. I did really well, and Tracy did really well on the Rife machine. We attributed that to being patchies. All right, so patchers. I think that's what Rebecca called it, patchers. So patchettes, and so it's incredible technology. We'll talk about Rife and how when she's going to come on a show as well, Rebecca, and we'll talk about the Rife technology and his history. Wow, talk about total suppression of something that was really good for humanity. So it was good for me. I learned a few things. I need to do some liver cleansing, so I'm going to be doing that. And little critters in there, like you're getting a free ride on me, and so I'm going to get rid of them. I don't free riders. Right? So parasites are bane to all of us, not even knowing they're there. You know, so that's a technology that can reveal that kind of stuff. So I got a Rife machine, love it, very good, Fairy Minx. So. You know, I've done Rife technology before, the big machines. This was this was a smaller machine. I guess technology's gotten to the point where you can move it around, and it's mobile. And so that's the one we used. And we actually bought a Rife technology that we can wear and dial it into different frequencies and work on stuff. So really good stuff. So anyway, I have some videos and so forth that I took on my phone. When you put on NVG, you could see a lot of the orbs and so forth that were flying across the sky, and then some jets would come in. You could hear the jets, probably military jets. They had like banks of red lights across. I don't know what kind of jet they were, but anyway, they kept coming into the area where the highway, the orb and, UFO highway is. Mount Adams, which it's a great view of Mount Adams. And we saw what looked like some openings that were happening in Mount Adams, all over Mount Adams. And Mount Adams, where we're looking at, 13 miles away, there's no roads on the area. There's no trails on this area. And James and other people have been up there with like a million-watt power light and shined it back at the camp, and no one could see it. So whatever's opening, whatever doorways or whatever is opening there in a mountain are pretty significant. James talked about how it's a Native American land, and he's talked about how the Native Americans are like, don't go up there, because there's and I guess some people have, and they've seen some interesting beings. We'll put it to that. Maybe James might talk about that when he comes on the show. So very, very interesting. A lot of the stuff is hidden from us. We ate incredible meals. Everything was like right off the farm right there. Very, very good. People, environment, food, and information and so forth. Meditations every day. So I was getting into that zone. So it was really good. So great stuff. So what's going on in the world? Do you guys miss me? I know you'll miss me. I know you'll miss me. I know you'll miss me blind. Chameleon. Boy George. Everybody like Boy George? Yeah. So it's like Boy George was a little bit strange back then, wasn't it? But everybody's like, the music's good. Who cares? But they've been seeding in this transgender stuff for a while. And that's one of the things, I think a lot of us are starting to go, no, right? No. And Boy George these days, he's got a beard, he's got short hair. He says, I was out of line. So that's what he's talking about now. So that's good. Don't quit your day job. Thanks. Let's hear you sing, JWC. Let's see what your voice is like. Come, chameleon. La, 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 la. So anyway, East City Ranch. Let me show you guys what it looks like. Its website's awesome. And here's some paranormal stuff. There's Mother Mary. People have taken pictures of them. Beings that come in. Phenomenal. Here's Kuan Yin. Here's a being from Lyra, lion being. So here's the Bigfoot footprints. There's the snow, and see there's James's foot, and there's Bigfoot. So yeah, he's out there. He hangs out, right? I went to the restroom one night. So there's in the cabin that we were in. There's no restroom, so you got to go to a restroom. So it's like camping. It's fun. It was fun. So beautiful cabin, very comfortable. But we both went to the restroom. We could hear Sasquatch out there. He likes to play like an owl, so he makes these whoo whoo whoo. But it's like that's not an owl. So he's out there playing around. So it's pretty funny. I think he looks over the place too. So no funny business. No weird people going to get in there. So anyway. Here's orbs. There's all these videos you can go to when you go to the iseti.org site. You're going to see different orbs.
I'll be damned. Look at that. What? See? It's a light spirit. Look at him go. Look at him. He's going to the west. Totally against the wind. There's one. There's one. That's an orb. See it? Yeah. Oh, he's nice. Can you see this gun? Come over here and look at the screen. There he goes. There's one. There's one.
So the orbs often are beings that are in a different state, and then one of the reasons why I didn't want to say we were there because he gets all these military vehicles that come around. All right, so that's fun. So that's one of the reasons why I was low key. They come in and they harass some certain people when they come in. They're getting views of the orbs and so forth, but I highly recommend it. If there was any doubt in your mind that there were and you wanted to see UFOs, you go and you can go there on the weekend at night. Sign up for the weekend, Skywatch on the weekends. You can do it every night, of course, there. But the weekends seem to be they put on a show, evidently, and so you can go see it if you're in that area. Has different courses on the 8-8. There's the Lion's Gate. There's a lot of lion energy that's there at City Ranch. Lyra, lion. And so I'm connected to that, and James connected to that. So there's a lot of beings out there. Like I said, no video on your end, only sound. You can't see them. Can't see or hear them. Well, maybe I wasn't sharing the screen, but sometimes they do that, unfortunately. So anyway, East City Ranch. You saw it, Trace?
I see you.
Did you see East City stuff?
Let's go back and see. Yeah, it's on there.
Did you see East City stuff?
It's on there. So. I can hear them all watching them.
So
hold on, you were trying to pull them up, and no, I don't think you can see it now.
Saw nothing. Okay, no worries. Go to East City. That sucks. I wasn't showing it. So a few days without doing shows, and look at me. I'm like I lose it. So, I lose my edge. All right, so let's go into some other things that seem to be pressing for different people. People see different things, I guess, just like the at ECETI. Some people that come there that should be people that are part of the UFO community come there and they see them and then they leave and they say they didn't see anything. So there's some silliness that goes on there. Now, Lindsey Graham, of course, passed away 17 days ago. Q number, of course. So there's a lot of people out there. They're saying they don't see a wrinkly flag. For me, it depends on the angle, I guess. If you look at this, it looks pretty wrinkly to me. Some people claim that if it's wrinkly, that it's treasonous stuff, but there's people out there that are saying that it's not. So, you know, you're going to see what you're going to see. You're going to think what you want to think. This is the way it is right now. It's so interesting to me. And to be I think it'd be an apologist for someone that's really evil, right? Lindsey Graham was a bad boy. He died he only had $1.1 million. Yeah, because he spent it all on boys. Where they have lots of human trafficking, he would go to Ukraine quite often, and he'd be there for a few days, and he'd have a business. He'd have a expense account that was in the thousands, tens of thousands. What are you spending? What are you spending money there on? So, not a good guy. I've called him out for a long time, but evidently, there's some people out there that are saying that his military, time was okay. Right. Okay, guys. Right. Whatever. And, like I said, people are going to see what they want to see. They're going to believe boy and boy, whatever. Right. So I'm not going to go there, because evidently there's some people that still believe this guy's a good guy. It's baffling to me. I thought everybody in our community was of the same opinion that this was not a good boy, right? And so anyway, there's people out there saying he's good, I guess, and that there was no wrinkly flag. I mean, I'm looking at that. It's obviously wrinkly. It should be super pressed, right? It's not, and some people are saying it's not as bad as John McCain's. Okay, but it's still wrinkly. And then they show a different angle where the light catches it. It doesn't, you can't see the wrinkles. I'm like, God. And these people are saying people that think Mike Flynn's good too. So anyway, there's a lot of that going on out there. Apologists and people that just do not seem to have the bigger picture. So I'm going to continue to reveal as much of the bigger picture as I can. Some people are not going to like it, and we'll just go somewhere else and go with where the people are compromised consciously, like I talk about. So it is what it is, right? So let's talk about some other things that are going on out there. Earth changes. Now, I've had JP on my show. JP is basically a super soldier dude like moi, and he talks about how there's arcs. I'm listening to one of his books, and he was interviewed by Michael Sala many times, dozens and dozens of times, who is a UFO investigator and alien race, technologies and, ancient alien stuff. So JP, it seems to be involved in stuff. And so he went to what's called an ark. Like Noah's Ark, right? So these arcs, I've talked about this years ago. We started bringing this up, and I remote viewed them. I believe that they are here on Earth, several arcs. Now these arcs are basically extremely large craft that can hold a lot of people, tens of thousands of people, and sustain them. They have technology in there where they reproduce water, where they make food and all that kind of stuff. And they can be taken either off-world for a period of time while Earth changes happen, or they can go to different places like Mars colony. There's the biggest moon in our solar system, Ganymede, has a lot of colonies there, all right? And I think that a lot of Earth changes in the past. Some of these beings have basically gone off world. They've gone into the inner Earth. There's inner Earth beings that are extremely advanced. And imagine right now. So you would take everyone that doesn't believe Lindsey Graham is a good guy, and just kidding. If you do, and you're just maybe 1% of things I don't agree with you about. So it's okay. But if there's people that are consciously advanced for the most part. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, and I don't think there's anybody on earth right now that's perfect. But if you're fairly advanced, I mean, you're not raping, pillaging, sacrificing, and stealing and all that stuff, you might be able to go on one of these arcs, all right? Or maybe you have in the past, and in one of your incarnations, or maybe there's people that lived here like Lemurians, Atlanteans, that were of the higher vibrational frequencies that got on these arcs or went in internal. Because I've been to Mount Shasta, and I strongly believe the Lemurian came out when I was hiking by myself up the mountain. It was pale-skinned guy and long blonde hair, silver hair, and he was telling me to be careful up the way a little bit. There was some slick ice where I was, going along the road because it had been a big snowstorm earlier. And he said, God be with you. And I was like, that's unusual. This was years ago. And, it's a little bit more common now for people to say that, not as much. But then it was like, that was odd. And he was odd because he came out of nowhere and he had a little backpack on and he had a hood on. And then he pulled his hood down when he talked to me. And I could see his long silver hair, and he was very tall. And I was like, oof. I'm looking at a Lemurian. I was kind of shocked a little bit, but we had a nice little conversation and had a nice exchange. And he continued down the mountain. I went up. I'm still in awe of that meeting. But I believe that there are and a lot of people talk about this. There are inner Earth beings that are advanced. Of course, they're not going to come out into our environment because the deep state would go after them like they do with other UFO craft and so forth. So that's not aligned with their evil and not aligned with evil ETs and so forth. So we're I think maybe coming up on a period of time where not like Noah's Ark, and maybe Noah's Ark was a real thing. It was wooden, but I think there were, and I strongly believe that there were craft that would take certain people off planet, either for a period of time they would come back, or because Earth goes through many cycles of destruction, and it's obvious, right? Of course, that's hidden for the most part, but if you do a little research, and if you have a really credible archaeologist and so forth, they will tell you that Earth has been through many cycles of destruction. So what happens during those destructions? What happens to humanity? Humanity is obviously continuing on. Is there just a few people that survive? Now, we've had all these stories about these beings that seem to come from the sky and are from, there was one I remember hearing, I think this was in Mexico or something like that, where a submarine came, described a submarine, and Quetzalcoatl came off, and the feathered one, they called them, and revealed all kind of technologies and information and so forth that helped them get on the fast track as far as rebuilding civilization and so forth. So there's lots of stories about this in the past. I think there is a possibility that we may be coming up on another one of those potential periods, because a lot of people have talked about how these craft they're being detected, and for the longest time they weren't detected because they're activating again, and some of them are buried very deep, but through vibratory fields and so forth that can be liquefied or whatever, and they can just rise up and so JP was talking about how one is in the Atlantic Ocean, and over the top of it is like some kind of structure. It's like a oil well platform or something, and there's a elevator that goes down to it, and that you can go inside of it. Now, you can only go so far depending on your consciousness, because there were some Chinese that were with him and their group, Chinese, Russians, and so forth, And the Chinese could not go so far, but so far. And they were kind of pissed about that, but that was their consciousness level. The ship itself wouldn't let them advance any further. And I talked about how a lot of these craft, there's your consciousness has to be at a certain level for you to be able to operate or interact with the craft, right? And my memories of flying some of these vehicles in the past was that I interacted, and I was at one with with the craft that I flew. And so there's all kind of stories about a lot of this stuff that's going to come out in the future. So so James tapped into some of the stuff that I'm involved with, which I'm like, I knew that, and I've been telling people that. So he tapped into it to a great extent, and he doesn't really know me that much at all, but he tapped into all the stuff that I've been, going over for years now. So desperate search for survivors after massive earthquake that just recently happened in the last several hours in Japan. So another 7.1, very high on their scale, the highest 7, and it doesn't go to 8, it goes to 7. That's the greatest shaking that can be experienced. And let's look at some of the devastation.
Now to Japan, where round-the-clock rescue efforts are now underway.
All right, so over here in Shanghai, back over here in China, not necessarily Shanghai, there were a couple of earthquakes just, I'll go into that in a second, just hours before the Japan quake hit. So kind of like a pre-quake event happened in China, and then a more accelerated, higher level happened in Japan. So is this going to continue? Some people say maybe, some people say there's a possibility. So I think we're definitely going to see stronger earthquakes in our near-term future.
Earthquake. It struck in southern Japan's Kumamoto prefecture, and CBS News foreign correspondent Anna Koren has the latest.
As the earth violently shook Japan's southern island of Kyushu, the residents of Kumamoto prefecture witnessed its devastating force. The 6.8 magnitude earthquake toppled expressways.
Now, USGS, which has monitoring stations far away from Japan, is calling it 6.8. Of course, the Japanese have the most advanced technology about earthquakes in the world, and they have monitoring stations all over Japan, and they're saying it's a 7.1. Now, I've talked about this for years. Dutch Sense, who's also investigative, I'd say, journalist as far as earthquakes are concerned, has talked about how USGS downgrades earthquakes as part of what they do. They're constantly downgrading them, and that's part of the disinformation that goes on out there. Because if you get a certain levels of earthquakes, it raises the alarm bells. So they don't want us to be alarmed. They don't want us to be informed. And that's what a lot of these government agencies these days are about. The Japanese are trying to keep their people alive, keep their people, continuing, just like an arc, So now, unfortunately, things happen regardless of what other people have said differently. Sometimes you'll get a different, happening or timeline other than what, some people have predicted. So we've had people that have predicted, many people actually, that have predicted that Japan would completely go away, would sink into the ocean, would be completely destroyed. One of those, Edgar Casey, and there's been others since then. So if that is the case, then that's unfortunate. That could be the reason why we have these arcs on the standby to rescue people and take them to different places. Hopefully, if it becomes obvious and we're getting a little bit better, myself and Intuitive and other people that are really tapping into the sun's activity, planetary alignments, and so forth, are getting to the point where we can almost predict when these are going to happen. I predicted several times when earthquakes were going to happen.
while buildings crumbled, erupting into flames. Dashcam video captured the moment an explosion occurred at the Aeon shopping mall in Kumamoto City 1 hour after the quake, sending debris flying onto a nearby road. The mall had already been evacuated except for employees when the blast ripped through, causing the second story to collapse. Local media reports at least 2 people have died and half a dozen are injured. Eyewitnesses reported smelling gas before the explosion. Today's earthquake follows a deadly quake that struck the same region a decade ago. Even the centuries-old Kumamoto castle sustained damage as part of its defensive walls collapsed again. Japan is sadly accustomed to these types of natural disasters and has strict building codes in place to prevent mass casualties. 300,000 people have been evacuated from their homes, and the government is warning of more aftershocks in the coming days.
All right, so more of this is coming on a higher level and frequency as we move forward. I believe this has happened many times throughout Earth's history, like I've talked about. Humanity has been devastated because they weren't warned and because they didn't have safeguards and backup plans of what to do in case this stuff happens. So now we're seeing more and more people are talking about it. Yes, Hoover Dam also could go down, and maybe that's why there's not a lot of water there right now. Maybe they knew that and they're keeping the water from going there. I don't know. I think it's going to fill up again, but we'll see how this El Nino works out. I think there's going to be atmospheric rivers like crazy, dumping massive amounts of rain going through California, maybe even as all the way up north. Normally the El Nino atmospheric rivers go through Southern California and across, but now they're predicting it's going to be a little bit further north, Northern California perhaps. But I think that because it's such a massive El Nino, the biggest in our historical records, I believe is what it's going to be. It could push up into Oregon, which really needs it right now because Oregon is burning like never before, 1 million+ acres on fire in Oregon. Washington State on the verge. Lots of places are burning. Europe is burning. It's like I said, it's one of those times in Earth's history where there's massive change that happens and devastation and earthquakes and volcanoes and so forth. It could be one of the reasons why Oregon's having such problems is because the volcanic activity may be picking up because there's been several earthquakes under some of the volcanoes in Oregon. So that could be because there's a movement, magma movement. Magma, of course, coming close to the surface could cause fires, right? So a lot of the fires potentially, I think that a lot of them are being set as well. And you have a very corrupt government, of course, it's Democrat, that's in Oregon. There were some people, and that's all I'm going to say, that were at the workshop that I was at. They knew families that had been involved in fighting fires for 4 generations, and they were loggers. They were loggers for several generations, and the loggers obviously, they would go out and fight the fires. So you depend on the loggers to put the fires out because, of course, they're going to protect their future investment and so forth. But then that changed, and loggers weren't involved in preventing and making sure that the forests were in good repair and weren't going to explode and like they do now. So now the chemtrails basically make trees super violently explosive when the fires come around. So that's some of the things that we're seeing with a lot of these fires. So some of them, I believe, are being set, and some of them are not. Now, this group that does the firefighting, they send people all over the country to fight fires. they noticed there was a fire starting to kick up in Oregon, and they contacted the government. The government said, don't worry about that. They sent people anyway, and it's a good thing because eventually that turned into one of the major fires that's burning right now. So because they had people there early enough on, it didn't get really out of control. But some of the places that they said they didn't need anybody, there was only a couple people there fighting fires. And so they showed up, and it's kind of the same thing. They want to make sure that their state, their environment is not going to get decimated, which unfortunately Oregon is. Oregon, I spent, some time in Oregon. I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail through all of Oregon and through the absolutely incredible, beautiful, beautiful country. And I've been to Portland back when Portland was nice, back in the late 70s, 78, 79. Portland Rose Festival, America's most beautiful city for a couple years in a row, no more, right? Because of Democrats. The Democrats, like I keep saying, have to go. And the Democrats just put their convention space up for collateral for $15 million because they're not raising enough money. In fact, Republicans, which aren't much better, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and many others, are basically collecting 7-1 to Democrats, and that's completely flipped. It used to be that Democrats always got more money, but they didn't do well with it. Hillary Clinton spent $1 billion on her campaign. I think President Trump, in his first run, spent like a few $100 million or something like that, and he won. So, of course, Democrats, they steal money. They probably didn't use all that money for her election campaign. Somebody was pocketing it. They were money laundering it and all kind of crazy stuff. So anyway, I think that, like I've said in many other shows that I've done on other channels, and of course on my channel, Wano Saban is the same, thinks the same. I think Nino thinks the same. That we're going to have election pause, right? And I think a lot of stuff is going to start to get revealed in the coming weeks and months leading up to the election. 2020, it's not over yet. And we're going to see a lot of this information continually revealed. And it's really starting to come out. I've seen a lot of it now. It's two wings of the same bird. Democrats and Republicans, both of them need to go away, really, in my opinion. So I'm not saying that Republicans are better. It is what it is. They're a little bit better than horrific. All right. So, and that's about it. All right. Let's look at some of the other stuff that's going on with the world. And here's On the Pulse with Silky.
Here are the raw numbers from the Chinese network that we keep coming in right now. First shock, magnitude 5.7, 10 kilometers deep. That's about 6 miles. 11:16 in the morning, Beijing local.
So both of these quakes, there was a 5.7 and then followed, I think 18 minutes later by 5.8. Kind of similar to what happened in Venezuela. We had a 7.1 and then 7.6. Within seconds after that one. So here's another, boom, quake, double tap. And then you have right across the Sea of Japan, I think, that area, there is the quake that I just went over, 7.1 in Japan, which was fairly devastating. Of course, Japanese have really, geared themselves up for, girded their loins for massive quakes. And that's been obviously very helpful for them to survive a lot of these quakes. But it won't help them when the islands start to shake so much that they start to disappear into the sea, as a lot of people have predicted. But we'll see how that works out. All right. Consciousness is a very interesting thing. It can cause things to not go the way it's planned sometimes.
Only 18 minutes later, magnitude 5.8, same depth, within a few kilometers and miles off the first. Now, 2 earthquakes.
So 10K, and Japanese quake 10K. We've heard 10K is where they have the maglev trains, some of the DUMs and so forth. Was that what was happening? That's not why. They would never do that. All right. So now, when DUMs are taken out, of course, they run through to make sure there's no children and other humans there. And when I say humans, it could be people that have been genetically altered, which often happens in some of those DUMs that the evil ones use. So they, the special forces people go through and make sure there's none of that. Clear it out. If there is, you know, sometimes they have to fight their way in, fight their way out, rescue mission, and then they destroy those DUMs. Now there's thermobaric bombs that are designed. I was a demolition expert at SIL 6. I know there was some stuff that was moving in that direction. Of course, that was a long time ago. I don't know why I'm not big on the screen, but, and I just got kicked out. Can you guys see me now? You blacked out? They blacked me out, evidently. So, black screen, deep state, yes. So if you guys got me now, screen black, screen is black still. Yes, you got me now? Yes, yes, okay. So is it normal size? Why is my visual effects so small? So I'm not a small man, so. Oh, so anyway, looks like I still got the show going on. See you in the left side. So small, yes, small screen. Let me go back and see what's going on. Maybe if I share the screen and then exit out of that. So let's see what Silky has to say. So she's talking about the double quake, and boy, I'm revealing a lot, I guess. I feel like I'm revealing a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me they take me down like that. That's the first time I've been taken down like that. So anyway, here it is.
That close in space, that close in time, at that depth, those are not 2 separate events that happened to share a morning. That's one fault system. I want to make that clear, guys. That is rupturing twice. And then 6 miles, 10 kilometers, that's shallow if they keep the depth at that level. So right. Shallow, that we know for sure. And that's important and then, because...
You know, what the heck is that screen? So, holy smokes. Yeah, this is all discombobulated. Wow. So that piano in the background, that's not mine. I don't play piano. Although I would like to have. I don't know what's going on with this. It kicked me out and then brought me in all discombobulated. How funny. Not. Oh, well, we'll figure this out later. But jackasses. All right, so it's interesting, all the different things that are happening right now, and you know, we've talked about how they're not going to let us play much longer. I don't think on this on social media before they, you know, take all of us down that you know, reveal. So we'll see. So let's go into some more information. So record warm seas power 3 storms at once in the Pacific Ocean. And there was a young lifeguard 16-year-old that basically went out and saved a 10-year-old, and it's quite amazing. I think he's probably going to get an award at the White House. That's on my X account if you want to go check that out. Record warm seas, like I said, Power 3 storms, and that's what's causing massive waves that are hitting the Pacific coast of Cali. So Guinevere, Fausto, and Dolphin. So 3 major storms. That's the El Nino, which all that warm water, hyper warm water, probably at some point the warmest waters in history, I believe, is what's going to happen. All right, so where's the information on this? The Washington Post. Sign up for the 7 newsletters. Right? No. Sign up for mine. I don't have a newsletter, but sign up for my shows. Learn a lot more than you will at the Washington Post. All right, so the Washington Post is you can't look at their info unless you sign up for it and pay money. So, and I've signed up for some of their stuff in the past. Who knows? Maybe I will at some point. So Oregon wildfires explode over 1.5 million acres. So yesterday, early yesterday, it was less than 1 million. So it exploded in size.
Welcome back to today's wildfire update. And if you were following along yesterday, Oregon's fire picture has shifted fast overnight. 2 of Oregon's biggest fires just posted major growth, and a brand new large fire has joined today's list. The Big Grass Fire grew from 220,000 acres yesterday to 300,000 acres today, and it's still only about 5% contained. And there's a fire we weren't tracking yesterday, the Coleman Creek Fire near Gentura, now mapped at 140,000 acres and 0% contained. Nationally, the country remains at National Preparedness Level 5, the highest level on the scale, meaning firefighting resources are stretched about as thin as they get. All right, let's walk through Oregon's major fires one by one and show you exactly what's changed since yesterday. Oregon still has more large fires than any other state, with today's National Interagency Fire Center report counting 34 active incidents statewide. Let's start with the 2 biggest, the Big Grass Fire, 25 miles southwest of Jordan Valley.
All right, they're big. They're really big. And the air pollution is the worst in the world in Oregon right now. Now, when I drove up to Washington State, I went through Bend, Oregon. I had, people told me over the years how beautiful Bend, Oregon was. I had a couple buddies that I work with in SEAL teams that were from Bend, Oregon. I was from Columbia, South Carolina, and there were a lot of guys in the SEAL teams. Guys come from all over the country. Sometimes we had a couple Brits, Brit brothers, they're twins, I think, that were in SEAL teams. And I think we had Filipinos and so forth. So, worldwide. But Columbia, South Carolina and Bend, Oregon had a lot of people. And there was no other place that I knew of, and maybe there is at this point, but back in my day, Bend, Oregon and Columbia, South Carolina had more SEALs from those 2 locales than any other location in the United States or the world for that matter. So very cool. So I had to go check it out. All right. So I went there a little bit out of the way, add a couple hours to the time, my driving time. We stopped there overnight, went down into the town, but driving into that area, smoky, lots of smoke, and it was bad. And then when we left that next morning, it was even worse. We had to turn off our ventilation, and then we got to a place where we're kind of like out of that range. Then it was much better. So anyway, once we got to the what was that Wild Spring or Hot Springs Indian Reservation area? Wow, what a beautiful area! I think it's called Hot Springs, but it's got it had horses all over the place on the range as you went, and then you went into the forest. The forest was like massive. beautiful forest. Hopefully that place doesn't burn. Incredible devastation that can happen with these fires if the land is not taken care of. Wild horses, we've heard, are very good to make sure the land doesn't burn. Of course, they've been rounded up by the government agencies and taken off the land so that they'll burn, because there's a lot of money that's in the burns these days, guys. And they don't care that it's burning our beautiful lands. They don't care that it's they don't care that the smoke itself is killing tens of thousands of people every year. They don't care. They're making money, and that's all they care about. All right, these evil materialists that are running our country. Well, not our country, but several of our states and some places around the world. All right. So, yeah, fires are really bad. So let's look at Europe. The fires in Europe are equally as bad, if not worse in some cases. I think it's like the worst they've seen for, I don't know, 1,000 years.
The minister is calling the devastating wildfires ravaging parts of his country and neighbouring France the most painful expression of a climate emergency. Massive flames are getting dangerously close to the cities of Bordeaux and Madrid, and France says they may not be extinguished for months. Tens of thousands of people have already been forced to evacuate their homes. Meanwhile, heat remains a factor as temperatures continue to rise with no rain in sight. Derek Van Dam joins us from the CNN Weather Centre. We are having this extraordinary year of heat, aren't we, in Europe? But I guess the wind's just as important at this point.
And the drought as well. I think it's important, Max, that we step back, kind of say, how did we get to this point? Well, remember, we had an unusually wet winter. So the months of January and February, we had a lot of water, a lot of rain fall from the sky. And then the taps got turned off. And then we had multiple successive heat waves impact the Iberian Peninsula and western portions of Europe. So this is the drought monitor from Copernicus. And you can see France littered with that dark shade of red near the Bordeaux region. That is the highest level of drought conditions that they monitor. Of course, we have our ongoing wildfires that we're monitoring. There are several hotspots, dozens of hotspots across this area, but we're focusing in on just west of Bordeaux and west of Madrid. This is fascinating. The French authorities here talking about pyrocumulus clouds, the own weather patterns created by the intense heat from these wildfires. And it's visible on the satellite imagery. We picked this because it really tells an important story. This is Bordeaux. This is one of the wildfires. And you could see kind of those overshooting tops. So you're a satellite looking down towards the ground. And this is kind of giving you an example of just how high these billowing plumes of smoke are. We call these pyrocumulus clouds. It is true. Sometimes when intense forest fires get so hot, they actually force the air upwards. The air particles cool, condense, create clouds, and often those can create lightning strikes that spark additional wildfires. But on top of that, it can complicate the firefighting efforts on the ground as well, because once rain falls from this thunderstorm, in essence, cloud, well, it's going to create a lot of wind as well. So it can push embers from the original fire to new additional spot fires further out along the forward flank, complicating the firefighting efforts. So does this. The winds, right? If it gusts anywhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, which it's forecast to do across some of these hardest hit areas, it will make it that much difficult. When we get a change in the wind direction, the forward flank changes from north to south, east to west, depending on what that wind direction is doing. And of course.
All right. So obviously, it's Europe's being punished. Right. So being punished for being too liberal. And I think that's one of the things that I talked about. The consciousness does have an effect, I think, on certain areas. I've seen it for decades, right? I see where hurricanes come in and so forth. Some places, like where I lived in Madeira Beach, the hurricanes did come in. They were 100 miles off the coast and still devastated. And then that hurricane went up into North Carolina mountains and still had the same intensity, but they're still digging people out to this day, 2 years later. Crazy. So probably, a lot of people go missing. They're never found. They don't talk about it. Same thing happened. I did a show earlier today in Lahaina, right? Almost 3 years later, August 8th or so forth, I think somewhere around that time frame is the third year, and they still haven't completely rebuilt Lahaina. And you know, this is what these evil ones do. They come in with their direct energy weapons and devastate. And then, even though there's billions of dollars of reclamation, refund, and to help people, people never get it. They never get it. Billions, and they never get it. Never get the help, and they become destitute. Leave. There's even people that are being found that have committed suicide, or are they being suicided because they're doing our investigations? Because of course, they have the same sheriff that was at the Las Vegas shooting that signed up for Lahaina months before Lahaina fire started, and he picked his deputies, which stopped traffic in this one area because the deputies wouldn't let them escape. So extreme evil. It's in our face. People don't seem to be able to do anything about it. They, want to say that someone that's obviously very evil and bad doesn't have a wrinkly flag on his coffin, so he's an okay, good military guy. Whatever. All right. That's why we're in the state that we're in. That's why we're going to get devastated over and over and over again. And hopefully some of us jump on some arcs, right? Or, going through the dumbs that are, not baddie dumbs. So I don't know, guys. We can push back and weaken people, but we have to work together to do it. And it just doesn't seem to be people that are of that consciousness level, unfortunately. All right. So let's look into some more of this devastation. Houthis escalate attacks on Saudi Arabia, reportedly fire ballistic missiles at oil tanker. So the Houthis in Yemen, I spent some time in Yemen in CIA, in Aden, and that's right on the area where they're restricting traffic. It comes kind of close together with Somalia, I think, on the other side. And they're trying to restrict, just like the Iranians are trying to do, in the Straits of Hormuz, and so just have to make fun of this bullshit, right? Hormuzi. So yeah, and some are like, well, it's all fun until you get blown up. Yeah, I've been around blowing up stuff a lot, so. And I still had a good time. We joked about it afterwards. So you got to keep a sense of humor. Those of you that get too serious, you're going to attract it. You're going to attract it. So us happy, fun guys are going to just like laugh and play and take out the bad guys when we need to. All right. Saudi Arabia's air defense, backed by the U.S. and Western allies, continue to thwart Houthi drone attacks. Now, Europeans seem to now be getting involved because I saw where there is a Greek anti-missile battalion or whatever, squadron, whatever, and they have stopped a few missiles. So good job, Greeks, all right? Greek men, and some Spartans, all right, from Spartan lifetimes, are out there, doing good work. So I think this is going to continue to pick up because this is, it's not going to go down like Graham said. Graham said it'll be over in 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, he said. All right. We'll bomb them, and some of the cities will go, and then the rest of the Arab nations will get involved, and it'll be over in a few weeks. Right? That's what Graham said. You Graham supporters, right? Unwrinkly coughing supporters. So the Houthis are carrying, and yes, I'm going to continue to push that because until you wake up or you get so pissed off that you storm out and you get out of my face, right? So, the Mullah regime wants to use the escalation to strengthen its position in the ongoing conflict with the United States. The Iranian of attacking ships and tankers in the Red Sea of Bab el-Mandeb, effectively closing the region's second busiest waterway after the Strait of Hormuz. And Babel. When there's some like for Babel, scatter them, change their language and scatter them. Bab el-Mandeb carries around 7% of the world's energy supplies. So it looks like Iraq is somehow getting involved because they got some Houthi likers, and they're shooting some missiles from Iraq into Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi Arabians are like, stop that. Iranian government, stop your people from doing that, please. So it's like, that's the way the Arabs are. They talk a lot of shit, but they don't show up. That's why it's been a lot of American and other foreign nations that have been fighting these wars, and sometimes they show up, and when they do, you're like, yeah, you guys could probably just go back to where you were. We got this, but for some, after years of giving them munitions and training and so forth, they're still fucked up. But no, I mean, some of them are good, but it's a mess over there. In addition to blockading Saudi oil and gas exports, the Houthis are targeting the Arab kingdom's energy infrastructure. Houthis said on Monday they targeted a number of sensitive crude oil supply and transport sites linking eastern Saudi Arabia to the critical Red Sea oil export hub of Yanbu. Yanbu, man. And I don't know if that's the way they pronounce it, if they put the man on the end of it, but sounds cool. Fires, heavy smoke, and burn scars are visible at Aramco's Abqaiq facility in new satellite imagery. It's Saudi Arabia's largest crude processing plant, and there's been damage there and burn scars. I guess they're not going to admit that it happened. So we have to go look. All right, hike or hold. That's the Fed. The Federal Reserve, who we all know needs to go away. And I do shows about a lot of stuff, and everybody's like, why doesn't Trump do something about it? Why doesn't Trump do something about it? Why does Trump do something about it? Really? It's like, why don't we do something about this? Trump's his one-man show, right? He fell asleep at Graham's funeral. He was so bored. Maybe he was up late, planning strikes against Iran or something. I don't know. But he fell asleep. He got up and said, Graham, there wasn't a war that he didn't like to get involved in and blow stuff up or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, but he kind of said something like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Were there some reveals in that little talk that he did for you Graham lovers, right? I might want to look deeper at that. All right, hike or hold. The Fed meeting will surprise either way. So I say hold, and don't raise those spears until they're right up on us. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. All right, so I think the Fed is seeing the problems. This new Fed, Walsh, is seeing, he's looking beyond the information, because usually the Fed is late to the game. They're looking at information that's old and tired. They're not looking at deeper information like housing prices are collapsing. I think like 27% in Austin, Texas, 27% drop. And everybody said it would go up forever. This time will be different. And when you ever hear that, you know it's not going to be different. All right. So we have dropping home prices. That's deflation. And the largest, monetary instrument on the planet is American housing on the planet. That's right. And it's descending in value. That's deflation. So all these inflation wine ears. And speaking of wine, did you guys notice that in France, Bordeaux, there's a threat of burning going on? Come on. You got to protect that. That's the best wines in the world, Bordeaux. Oh, my God. Sacre bleu. So let's go, Frenchies. Get out there. Fight those fires. Oh, you guys don't fight. Oh, well, climate change. You knew it was coming, and there it is. You brought it, right? What you focus on, you attract. All right. So I am attracting good wines. So can I've been to Bordeaux, and they have all their wines stored underground because that's the way the Vikings did it. Yeah, the Vikings are the ones that brought the wines. Vinland. So they basically have all this stuff stored underground, huge barrels. Oh, it's magnificent, magnifique. We toured there. My honey Co and I, we toured that area in France, and we had a good time. Right, that's back in the day when the Intuitive Warrior came out, Lessons from a Navy SEAL on how to increase your hidden potential, and it's done really well. It sold a lot of books, but I haven't got a lot of that money. Right? It's been stolen from me. So you write a good book, and a lot of people read it, and you would think you'd get some kind of compensation for that, but Amazon and book companies, they take a lot. You got to sell a lot to get a little bit, and so I've sold a lot, and I've gotten a little bit. Right, so a lot of you have read that. If you haven't read that, that's a good book. Still a good book. 20 years later. All right, so it's timeless information, and I'm sure, and some maybe if I do have future lives here, which I don't think I'm going to, I'm done here. At some point, I won't be doing any shows here, guys. Come on, you got to know that. And I'm going to move along, and I'm going to move to star systems or something. I don't know, Star Trekky, or I've been told I got my own starships out there, and I'm ready to go. All right. So anyway, hike or hold. I'm just all over the place today. I'm making up for like how long was I gone? 6 days, something. So I'm making up, and I gotta push out a lot of information and a lot of funny stuff. Right. So, all right, here we go. Should I stay or should I go now? Do. If I stay, there will be trouble. Or something like that. I don't know. So, I say the Fed is going to hold, guys, and we'll probably see the stock market like it, and we'll probably see silver and gold like it because the dollar's going to go whoop, because the dollar's been going up because everybody's like, oh, they're going to hike, 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 they're going to hike. There's a lot more people said that, but you get the drift, right? A lot of people said it. So they're not going to hike, and we'll know, I think 2:30 tomorrow in the afternoon. If you see the stock market go whoop, and you see silver and gold go whoop, and you see the dollar go whoop, then that's good. If you see the stock market go whoop, that means they hiked. Run away from everything, but hold your silver. Hold. Yeah. So, and as the horses get closer, or the kings, it's always the British you're holding for. You ever notice that in those movies? Hold until you see the whites of their eyes. And the Bunker Hill, and they like blasted them, and then they blasted them a few more times, and they ran away because they ran out of ammo, and they didn't want to get bayoneted. So they did the same thing with who was that one guy, that one king, Edward the First or something, I think it was. That was my lifetime. Yeah, I was a good king actually, but they made me look like it was bad. But he came against some Scotsmen that were good fighters. They were really good fighters, and they waited till the horses were upon them, and then they brought the spears up, but then the king's like, shoot the arrows, and the master at arms goes, "But sir, we'll hit some of our men." It's the Irish. And I have Irish in me this time. Of course, I would get Irish because, and Scottish, mostly Scottish, Irish and Welsh. And so, you do something to one group and then you got to be that group. And that's kind of the way it works. So, don't mess with the Irish. Don't mess with the Irish. That my wife Tracy was the Irish pirate queen in her lifetime. Yes, look that up. Irish pirate queen. That was one of Tracy's lifetimes. So, and she really identifies with that actually, because some of the lifetimes I say you were this and you were that. It's like whatever, but she likes the Irish pirate queen. All right. So he will hold tomorrow against the British Empire, because the British Empire is still trying to monetarily control us, and we're going to defeat them. All right. All right. So the tapes Joe Biden spent 2 years trying to bury are finally out. Right, so, and now we see that he really was an idiot, right, for a long time, and longer than they were letting him to be. So all these people that basically were apologists for him, the press and the Democrat Party and so forth, are they going to be held accountable? I wonder. Joe Biden's lawyers fought for more than 2 years to keep the American people from hearing that their client what their client sounded like in 2016, 2017. That was a long time ago. But wasn't he like vice president back then? Yes, right. He was an idiot all the way back then. He's always been an idiot, guys. He lies about everything to ingratiate himself and make him look bigger and more something that he's not. So he also boasted about keeping extensive personal notes from his years in the White House, remarking that officials there never knew that he had them. Right? So that's illegal. That's a felony. Stop and consider what that means. This was not a confused old man stumbling into a technical violation. This was a sitting vice president and later a private citizen telling a writer with no security clearance that the material in front of them might be classified, and then sharing it anyway, right? So in several commands, I was the security manager for the command in Guam, Fort Operating Base, in SEAL Team 6 for my squadron, and in SEAL Team 4 for the whole command. So I know about security and top secret, confidential, and how to classify them, how to lock them up, how to sign them out, and so forth. And looks like Biden basically took a few files for himself and never returned them. They should never leave the office where they're from. So Special Counsel Robert Hur can obtain these recordings during his investigation. Now, remember, he said Biden was so incompetent that a jury would not find him guilty because he's just so dumb. He's just so out of it. I beg to differ. All right. So the sitting president is so incapacitatedly stupid and not there that a jury would not convict him of being, taking information that should get him felony and put him in prison, fined and put in prison for a very long time. He's like, no, he didn't do anything about it. He just told us, yeah, he's an idiot. But that's where, and that was it. There's got to be accountability for that at some point, right? All right. So his February 2024 report concluded that Biden willfully retained classified materials and read classified notebook entries to Zwanitzer nearly verbatim on at least 3 occasions. So that was his author, because Joe Biden can't write, Right? He's too stupid. He was never intelligent enough. He barely made it through law school, although he said he was like top of his class. And then we find out, no, you barely made it through there. And then that bridge that got hit by that one ship, and it dumped that it blew up and dumped that bridge in Baltimore or wherever it was. And he's like, I used to ride the train on that. Well, there's no train ever was on that bridge. So the guy's just full of it on everything. It's unbelievable. The House Judiciary Committee, which posted several of the clips, these are clips where we're able to see that this guy was out of it, right? So these are being revealed. They're hearing them. And you know what's going to happen? The D.C. Circuit rejected Biden's emergency bid in a 2-1 ruling on July 21st. Do you know that there's 1,000 lawyers that have stepped down from Washington, D.C.? 1,000 from Washington, D.C. The Trump administration is cleaning house, and these guys are just like running for the hills. Right? So these guys are in trouble. Biden's team quickly folded rather than press on because it's basically there's nowhere else to run and hide because we pushed on this, guys. We found people that will support pushing back on this. And this is the key. We, the people, have to push back. We have to work together in large enough groups that makes an impression on those that push back too, but don't have any support. So we're supporting the people that have been at the bit to go forward. So continue to do it, guys. It makes a difference. All right, 2 men, 2 different standards of justice. Embrace them too, I guess, for being stupid. They do not merely embarrass Joe Biden, they indict the institutions that protected him, the press, the Democrat Party, and everyone that was around Joe Biden, all right? His wife, everyone. His vice president, Kamala, she was too stupid to know anyway, too, but anyway. And both of those people are gone. That's not Kamala, and that's no Joe Biden. We know that. All right. I think a Filipino plays, Filipino dude plays Warren. So anyway, we're going to see a lot of this stuff come forward as we move on. It's pathetic. How do we ever get here? Right. Where do we go from here now that all of the children have grown up? Daughter of man in 72 Biden crash seeks apology from widowed senator. All right. Newark resident Pamela Hamill wants a public apology from vice president candidate U.S. Senator Joseph Biden. So this is obviously a while back. What's the date on this? This was October 20th, 2008. But they still kept playing the bullshit. One of the stories is that, he flipped the vehicle and they tested him. He wasn't drinking. He never had prison time, nothing like that. But Biden would say when he was talking about it that he was drunk. Instead of eating his lunch, he drank his lunch, he would say. They found out about it, the family, and they're like, apology, stop that. But he continued to do it. This guy got away with so much. It's pathetic. Pathetic. So pathetic. It's copacetic. I got all the music in my head. It's like crazy. All right. Ma'am Donnie. Speaking of election fraud. Ma'am Donnie, election bombshell. Boom. More fraudulent votes cast than margin of Ma'am Donnie's victory, says election auditor. So remember, when I said that stop doing the recounts, because all you're doing is recounting the fraud. You got to go find the fraud. And this is what has happened here. Someone has gone out and found the fraud woman that's a New Yorker. And she said we all know that Mamdani didn't win. And so I was like, well, that's unfortunate. So what have you done about that? So someone has actually gone out and done some investigatory work. Very good. So a prominent election integrity activist has uncovered bombshell evidence suggesting, because we can't. So look right here. There's fraud. There's fraud here. There's fraud there. There's fraud over there. Fraud back there. Fraud under here. Fraud. Mamdani's like he's got it in his pockets. Just pull his pockets out. Look, there's fraud. It's everywhere. No, you can't say that. Suggesting. All right. Because we can't say for sure. Otherwise, they'll just discount it. Oh, you're just like, you're a conspiracy theorist, aren't you? No, I have actual proof. Where did you come from, that proof? Who gave you that proof? So it's going to be like that, guys. They're going to just drag this on. It's so pathetic. Copacetic. Marty Hornick, remember that Marley Hornick, the founder of RealAmerica.vote and New York Citizens Audit. Marley, you better have a bodyguard. Has suggested that the 2025 election included large numbers of unqualified or non-existent voters. Oh, where have we heard that before? Yeah. Finally, somebody's like getting to the bottom of this. I actually don't know whether Mamdani won the mayoral race, and I'm not here to say that he didn't, Hornick said smartly during a July 22 interview on New York radio stations WABC's Sid and Friends in the Morning. I listen to it all the time. I've never heard of it. The problem we uncovered is that the New York City and the New York State boards of elections are corrupt. I mean, have no idea if Mamdani won the mayoral election either. How is that possible? We don't even know. But how about all this fraud? We don't know. Well, look, here's this fraud, here's this fraud, here's this fraud. We don't know. Okay. So I think we need to pick somebody that might have a little brain cell, just a little one, because that's all we need. And that's where the rubber meets the road here. After examining 1 million of the total 2.2 million voters who participated in the election, so she only examined 1 million. So what would happen if she in the other 1.2 million?